Ta-da! Here we are, folks. We got Chuck, who is in darkness at the moment. We have John Ishii, who we haven't seen for a while, and who's been very busy. Gustavo and Randall and Mr. Stewart, and hopefully we'll get. I got to get Roy back in here. Give me a second. Get Roy back in here, and hopefully we'll get Joey to pop in. And I wasn't expecting David to make it in tonight, so that's great that he was able to sneak in because he's out in the wilderness, and he managed to still have a good connection or good enough to come on the panel, which is great. David, where are you right now?
I'm a place called Coaldale, Alberta. It's about 3 hours southeast of Calgary.
So when did you get there? When did you arrive there?
Oh, 3 days ago, and we're leaving tomorrow morning. And we're going to Dinosaur Provincial Park.
Wow, cool.
Yeah.
And David, later on for the discussions, I got a question for you about this comet.
I haven't been following the comet at all.
Okay.
But from what I understand, it's going to be very visible in the next little while. But
Exactly. No, anyway, we can discuss it later on. Keep the introductions.
So how have you had? Did you have any good luck with the photography while you were where you're at now, or no?
Fairly good luck. We're in Birds of Prey, where they were rehabilitating birds, and I shot some today. Didn't take any home for dinner though. But
Japanese gardens.
Yeah, and we're at the Japanese gardens. It's and we've been seeing different things around here, and we got some fall colors, and we got to spend 4 hours in the front seat of a combine. There's you come across a farmer who was working his field. He had 8 combines and 2 balers, and it's so we were there watching and taking pictures, and then he came along and asked if we'd like to go for a ride in the combine. So I got a sore arm, so I said, don't twist it too hard, and so we were in the combine because all of those combines have a second seat.
Wow.
Yeah, so we sat in that when they're harvesting grain, and
Air conditioned.
it's air conditioned and filtered and all the rest of that stuff, and
Rise to the hilt.
and they even have a fridge, which is very important when you're out for hours and hours and hours. But these combines, they're GPS controlled for the steering. And so when you want to steer, you grab the steering wheel and you pull it towards you, and it's engaged. And when everything is going right, you push it ahead, and the combine steers itself. And it was cutting a swath 45 feet wide.
Whoa.
So, and that was the small one. The last year, they had one that was 50 feet wide. And next year they're getting the newer model back, and so they'll have a bunch that are the same. But when you got 8 combines in the field at the same time, it doesn't take long to go through a section of land. Because every 200 feet forward that the combine goes, when you get all 8 of them, that's an acre.
Wow.
So it, and they had 2 balers were baling the straw coming out of the back of the combine, and these 2 balers were able to keep up to the 8 combines, and they started late because they worked just that much faster, and they'll go down the field. It's 12, 15 miles an hour. and they'll be picking up the straw and putting it into bales. They're probably 1,000-pound bales. I didn't ask if they were 1,000 or 1,500-pound bales, so they're big bales, and and everything is modernized, So
That's
but
pretty.
that was the
pretty
high
cool.
point of the trip.
Yeah,
And
I wouldn't mind being on one of those and seeing what it's like.
oh,
But Dave, and Eve, move your camera. There you go.
There you go.
Yeah, there you
well, I looked like I was okay in my camera, but anyway.
No,
You look good. You look good now.
Yeah, I was just looking at better than on YouTube. Really better.
We'll just say hi to the few people. Wow, we got 22 people in here. Let's see. So we got Jeff and Leslie. Jeff and Leslie, you guys showed up right at the start of the show. I'm not used to you guys doing that, so you're trying to trick me, I think. Is this the real Jeff and Leslie that came on? I don't know. We got Bob Our Photos in here, and let's see. Terry's in the house. Real
Jim?
Nikon lover. Hello to you, my friend. Mozman's in here. Yeah, Tim was in North Carolina for a little over a week now, and I tried to make it up his way to shoot with him, and I couldn't get to where he was because of the flooding that there was in North Carolina. And then, of course, he was supposed to go home to California on Thursday. He had to change his flight plans because of the hurricane and the remnants of that came through and actually did pour more water into North Carolina. The news said over 300 roads are closed in North Carolina, and some parts are devastated really bad. In South Carolina, we had I haven't driven to the areas that typically flood, but I'm sure they're flooded. And we did have some tornado activity that spawned off from the hurricane. So we had a little bit of probably a pretty much consistent tornado warnings for, I don't know, I'm guessing like 3 hours or so, which made life interesting. And Randall knows all about tornado warnings, I'm sure. They're always a blast. We've got so we never got to see each other. So the whole time he was here, we never got to hook up. So things just didn't work out. Hopefully next
Couple of
time.
storms in the middle.
Yeah, Ava's here. Good to see Ava. Robert Varner. Let's see who else we got.
Sanjit.
Fel is here. Sanjit's here. Hello, Sanjit. How you doing?
Phil.
Fel, yeah.
Yeah, Terry.
We're getting people in here. That's good. So for a lot of folks, for those of you that were in the path of that hurricane, whether you lived in Florida or got subsequently hit after that as it went through, Georgia and the Carolinas, and hopefully you came away unscathed and no one yourself or no one that got hurt and you didn't suffer any property damage. And obviously there were an awful lot of people that suffered from a heck of a lot of property damage. In some cases, and towns were completely disappeared.
Whoa.
So we,
What's the name of the tornado? Helena?
Helene.
Helena.
Helena or Helene or something?
Helene.
It did a number. I mean, it did. I mean, there's parts. In North Carolina wasn't really. I mean, Florida got it the worst, but part of North Carolina. I mean, the whole area. Not where Tim was staying, but
the mountains.
the whole town is underwater, type of thing. So I mean, they had hospitals that were underwater, and people were getting airlifted off the roof of hospitals and stuff like that. I mean, if you had a lot of people in that hospital, I don't know how the heck you got everybody out of that in time. I mean, you had to I mean, hopefully they did get everybody out of that hospital, but scary stuff. I mean, really
Yeah.
scary stuff.
You guys survived okay?
Yeah, my new roof held up. so, so my roof held up good, and I didn't have any. I had some standing water between my house and my neighbor's house, but nothing of any significance to really worry about.
Well,
So
how far north did it go?
Oh,
All the way up to New York?
no, I don't know, because it wasn't following a straight line, down the East Coast. It kind of, I think once it hit Georgia, it kind of veered off
Oh, I see.
to the left.
He's going to Tennessee.
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 The issue, John, is that it was a fast moving storm. So the hurricane winds managed to get. I mean, it kept some strength. So in the hurricane winds, it went all the way up to Atlanta. So that far inland, which is unusual, right? Typically, they die rapidly in intensity as soon as they hit the coastline. But this one not. This one was moving so fast that maintained the intensity all the way into middle Georgia, and of course it was the big water that brought with it, right? In North Carolina, I think Jeff was mentioned Asheville, correct? In the
Asheville
mountains.
was the one that got creamed really bad.
Exactly,
North,
and then Tennessee as well.
yeah, Tennessee got big one. Yeah.
Watch out, Chuck. You'll probably be able to find a cheap house pretty soon down there.
Yeah, I think so.
Anyway, weather.
We have, we have no control. We think
Australia gets cyclones, right?
but we don't. So we only have.
Australia gets cyclones.
We do, mostly the top part. Down where I live, it's pretty safe.
Well, you don't have to worry about flooding where your house is, Roy. You're way, way up high.
You have to be a few hundred meters higher than the sea level to reach me.
Yeah.
Ugh.
You'd have to have a tsunami of all tsunamis for it to ever even come near you.
Oh yeah, I was in a tsunami.
That's right. You got pictures of
That
it.
wasn't fun. Oh yeah. The pictures.
Remember, you had your camera with you. You were doing your photojournalist.
Yeah.
Work.
That's right. I was.
A true photographer always has his camera.
Always. Yeah, I got the first pictures out.
See, John's one of those guys, and he says people misunderstand him. He says, "Excuse me while I whip this out," and he's referring to his camera.
Hey, I think it was a 4-megapixel camera, right? D2. Yeah. How many megapixels was that, Roy? D2H.
Not a lot.
That's
Not
it.
a
There
lot.
you go. It worked. No problem.
We got Greg popped in here. Hello to Greg. Mr. Corker's in here. We've got 21 images for next Saturday's photo review. So I'm pleading for people to flood me with images this upcoming week. So we have 21. And
Next Saturday.
Next Saturday is when we have that show. And we'll put up our little standard little verbiage on the screen here. So get them into me by Friday, next Friday, by noontime.
The 4th.
And on the 4th. And we'll be ready for the 5th. And we are going to do some things that we've been talking about. We had a little discussion last week about a photo calendar, how that really wasn't going to work out for, I'm not going to regurgitate the whole discussion, but we are going to try some things, and I'm going to share with you a few, a little bit of, we're going to try to do just a calendar with a picture on it that is just month to month. And it's going to be a JPEG file, and anybody who wants it can ask for it. And I will, you send me an email, I send you the file, and then you could make it, like your desktop background if you want, where it sits in the background, you see the dates, and you got a calendar and you got the picture. And so what we're going to do is for the first time for this upcoming photo review, all the photos are going to be numbered 001 underscore, and then the file name for the file. But all everybody needs to worry about is that first three digits. So what we'll do is when we do the photo review, people could make notes to themselves, pick 3 photos that you like the most, and go into the comments section for the live stream after the show, list the 3 photos that you like, and put them in the order of, make sure you identify the one that's your favorite, okay? Because the favorite one, we're going to give it like a 1-week period from the photo review by the following. Let me see if I can find all my notes here. So like if we have the photo review on the 5th, on the 12th, we will end the voting. So whatever is comes in up to the 12th, I'll look at what everybody sent in. I'll tabulate it, and the highest vote getter will show up on a calendar for the month of November, and the top 3 will show up as part of the thumbnail for the photo review for the month of November. So I'll show you a sample of what, and I did this once before, but not everybody was necessarily here. So I'll show you just a quick sample of the thumbnail first, and it will be this, and it will, and the from now on, all the photo review episodes of the live stream will have this yellow background, so that when you're looking at everything that's in the videos for the live stream section on my YouTube channel, if you only care about the photo reviews from now on, you'll find them quickly because they'll be the ones that look like this. And the top 3 vote getters will get put on this thumbnail for the following month. And the top vote getter, we will put it on a calendar, and I will show you a couple. Like I said, there's not a lot of samples out there, so you're probably going to say, oh, they look kind of crappy, can't you do better than that? Well, if I find something better, I certainly will. But for now, this is what I could find after spending over a day trying to find something. I found a few. So I got 2 styles. I'll share them both and explain why I would use one over the other. So the first one is a little bit more stylistic per se, and it looks like it has a tear sheet here. It looks like it's torn at the bottom, and I can use this for certain images that we get, depending on what the foreground looks like. Okay, if I'm not detracting from the image, I could obviously put it on this type of a template. And like I said, it'll be, a JPEG file, and people could, if people have printers and they want to print it out, they can obviously print it out on their printer at home. So however you want to use it. And so this is one template. And then the next one is definitely more plain, a little bit more plain and conventional. This one would be where I don't want to put in it. I don't want to have any part of the image removed, like that other one, like I said, kind of cuts into it a little bit on the bottom. This one would fit your full image in there. And this would be the other option that I would use. And it's all going to depend on the image that's chosen, the image that we end up with. And so the only the rules I have with that is the rules apply more to those of us who are on the panel, because to be fair, anybody who is a regular on the panel, and we all know who the regulars are. It's like 7 or 8 of us. So those of us who are regulars on the panel are not going to be able to vote for their own work. In all fairness, that's, we should vote for other
work anyway.
Other people's. Roy doesn't like his work, but we're not going to vote for what we submit when we do the photo review. We will vote for other people's photos, and if other people happen to choose something that any of us on the panel did, good and fine and dandy, it will be in the queue. But we are not going to skew the results by voting for our own images and making sure it's our stuff that's always getting put on that calendar page, in all fairness. So like I said, choose 3, identify the one that you consider the best image. And probably the best time to do that is when we do the photo review, and after we've spent the time talking about each photo, and then I kind of go through all of them from beginning to end, and we show them on the screen for like 4 or 5 seconds at a time and go to the next image. That might be a good time for you to make your final decision on the 3 that you like the most. And if for some reason, because I can't watch what everybody says in the chat here, if there's anyone who does not want their images included, they do not want me to hang on to their images for a week or so in order for me to do the calendar sheet and the thumbnail. If you do not want your image saved on my computer for, let's say, no more than a week and a half, then contact me via email, and I will not count your images if you don't want to partake in it. So I respect your privacy, and if you just don't want to be part of that, let me know, and we will take care of that.
And the beauty, guys, is that this is a way to encourage participation, but also we know the limitations that we have with YouTube, correct? So that to show some of the images to in a slightly better quality, correct? So I suspect this is going to evolve, but I think it's a good idea to be able to have more engagement. Okay?
Yeah, we have to start somewhere, and if for some reason we don't get a lot of people commenting in the live stream comment section, on YouTube, and hardly anybody's participating in it, then it's going to kind of sink and go away rather quickly. So I encourage active participation by those who come in the chat, and let's have a little bit of fun with it, and and see how it turns out, and we may get other ideas for doing other things that we might end up liking more down the road. But you start somewhere, right? So we're picking this as a starting point, and we will see how it goes.
The only thing I might add, Jeff, is to vote, you must be subscribed. You don't have to like, you just have to subscribe. And if you have 5 email addresses and they're all subscribed, you can vote 5 times.
See, everybody promotes me other than me.
We're trying to get you up to 520.
Yeah, try to get me one more. I'll take one more. So that's part of the general discussion. We'll see how that goes. I'm going to have kind of a little bit of a serious conversation here, and believe me, I struggled with this, and I had 3 or 4 different drafts of how I wanted to talk about this subject coming up, because it can be a delicate one, and I'm going to try to address it as professionally as I can. So here's what I threw together. So, as you know, one thing I always encourage is really getting feedback from everybody on the channel. Either viewing the messages for the live stream event, or you send me a personal email and you give me commentary of any kind, or suggestions of any kind. Now, they can be positive or they can be negative. Okay, I don't have a problem with negative commentary, and believe me, I do get it. You may not think I do, but I do. And sometimes, yeah, it could sting a little bit. Okay, it could be a little hurtful at times, depending on how things are worded. And obviously, positive is better. And I don't mind negative. Like I said, I do get it, but I have one condition for those that want to present, any negative comments about the show, or hopefully you don't get personal with anybody that is on the panel, because I don't have a lot of patience for that. But I just ask you, if you want to get a little negative, don't just complain about stuff and rant and then end your email discussion. Because if you don't like something on the show, be an active participant. Provide recommendations for improvements. Get involved in the chat. If you're going to complain about things, then get involved in the chat. If you say, well, we only talk about this, we don't talk about that, I wish you would do this, I wish you'd do that. Well, come on the show, go in the chat, start a conversation. If there's some back and forth, we'll suck it into a topic. Everyone is always, just as Chuck did, everyone is always welcome to come onto the panel. And in a minute, I'll put the link in for the show for tonight. Anybody could come on this panel. And so, come on the panel and bring up topics of different, talk about things that you feel are missing. Okay. And bring it up as a sort of discussion, topic of discussion. And then we can all join in and to talk about it. Right. So it's a positive engagement. Let's make, if you have a negative, let's turn it into a positive. Or volunteer, even better yet. Email me and volunteer to put together a presentation on a photography-related matter that you can share with the rest of us and enlighten all of us and help us learn something, whether it be gear evaluations, tips and tricks for better results on the genre of photography that you like to do. And because I can't improve a channel if a person only complains and whines and they don't offer constructive criticism and recommended solutions. So, and it should also be realized that all suggestions will not necessarily result in changes, but I can guarantee you it will generate discussion. I will discuss it with the people that I invite on the show. It won't be ignored, but everything won't necessarily be implemented, because I know right now someone out there saying, Jeff, when are you going to give away $10,000 cash prize for the best photo of the month? Well, obviously that's not going to happen. So, you can dream, but that ain't going to happen. And the reality is, if you only want to complain and that's it, that's all you want to do, consider this live stream as a channel on your television set. If you don't like it, turn it off and your problem goes away. Okay. I let everybody voice their opinion, pro or con, how to improve the show. If you have specific topics, we could get information on that topic, or you could provide information on that topic and we will discuss it. And that's all I can do. That's all I can do as someone that's acting as a a medium here with a bunch of great people that are nice enough to, come and join us on a Saturday night. So, I'll leave it on that note, I think. But, I'd like to see, in reality, hey, I'd like to see us having people come on and talk about wedding photography, and Chuck's done portrait photography, and we've seen him when he's had his setup in his studio, and he's done motorcycle races and stuff like that. And the problem with, I know we have people who are wedding photographers that come in the chat, like the drunk wedding photographer was in the last couple weeks near the end of the show. And whether you're a portrait photographer or a wedding photographer or any other genre, if you want to share some images, you want to share some tips and tricks, you want to put together a little bit of a presentation to try to get people more interested in what you do as a photographer, that is a non-issue. That is something that we welcome and we want people to do. But yeah, we don't get a lot of wedding photographers in here, and to be realistic, it's because of the day and the time we do the show. Most wedding photographers right now are working and doing a wedding right now while we're doing the show, so they can't come in the chat. They can't share anything in the chat right now because they're working.
Hey, you get a lot of people in here, and just all you can do is ask somebody, what are you doing today? You can ask somebody, what are you doing tomorrow? And I mean, those it goes up there in my dogs, my cat's rubbing them. All right. Okay.
So you're going on a rant there, Chuck. He doesn't want ranting.
No, yeah. That's this is problem. No, you ask. That's what I did when I get through with it, and I just had to get everybody, ask anybody in the audience, what are you doing? And there we go. And we don't explain for or split or might go maybe 10 mega. Well, whatever. And we go on to the next bag.
Yeah. Well, we look to see what people are talking about, and Robert, and then we throw their comments up. Like Robert should have a comedy show. People still get married. And Rob, and then even Randall here trying to change Peter Gregg to add bird photos into his genre. But and I'm going to look through and see what other Jeff, people are saying in here.
Let me tell you one thing. Certainly for me, that I give you a lot of ideas, correct? Sometimes too many, but listen to me. People, we are all fickle a little bit, correct? So there is a saying in my home country, correct, that translates to something like that. We all cannot be gold coins, meaning we have only gold coins is what everybody likes, correct? So there will be people that like you, some people that don't like you, and you go with it, correct?
Yeah. But just don't be a critic. Give a suggestion.
Oh,
because
no,
if you're just gonna bitch and moan, then go watch Oprah or something. I don't know. Don't watch me. Go somewhere else. I can't.
No, you don't have that many.
I'll never make everybody happy. We know how YouTube can be, right? You can't make everybody happy.
Jeff, do you have a few that do this on the show?
Yeah, I've had more than a few, but I don't.
Really?
I don't bring anybody up by name. That's not appropriate.
I understand
I
that,
had a
but
bunch of them.
I'm just surprised.
Yeah.
Every time
It just seems like such a benign show, you know.
I get cameras all the time for what are you gonna play, but what are you gonna talk about, and I don't care.
Yeah.
We said fun. We said all we know is we're gonna have some fun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And if any of us are so horrible, you always have the option of starting your own YouTube channel and doing it yourself and do it the way you want.
Yeah.
So put your money where your mouth is. If you want to bitch and moan, and you don't like the show, start your own show, and we'll see how many people watch your show.
I said that 1,000 times. You don't like it, like what we're doing. We'll start your stay, and we'll come and watch you. Okay.
And complain.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, good idea.
So we had okay, Jeff and Leslie's talking about the quarterback when we started the show. Asheville's under a couple feet of water. Yeah, they're in really rough shape. We've got okay, I guess people regarding the calendar want a PDF rather than a JPEG. Well, what I'll probably have to do. Well, the app that I use and I created in only allows me to do a PNG file or a JPEG. But if I have it as a JPEG, I could probably bring it into another app and convert it to a PDF. So I'll cross that bridge when I come to it.
Probably won't be a point because it would lose all the text details. It would all be just one image.
If you want to print it, you're going to want the JPEG.
If you want to edit the calendar, you want the PDF, a real one.
Yeah. Now here's probably the most important question that we have to answer on the show tonight, and I've noticed that this commercial that's probably Chuck might know better than me, but I'm guessing this commercial is at least 50 years old regarding this question. Bob wants to know how many clicks to get to the center of a Tootsie Pop. Well, you got the commercial that's like maybe 10 seconds long, and now that Halloween is coming, how many licks to get to the center of a Tootsie Roll Pop with the owl and the kid or whatever. I mean, talk about not having much of a marketing budget. You're showing the same commercial you've had for 50 years, I think.
10.
Yeah. And Mossman's willing to settle for $5,000 monthly prize for the photo.
They can provide it.
That still doesn't help me unless you're going to supply the 5,000.
Yeah, I used to get there and let them know where I'm running a very small YouTube channel, and I have no money or anything to give away.
Yeah. If we want to have prizes, then I have to take donations and create a prize fund or something, and then we could have prizes. But if you're looking for me, maybe I could send you like a cheap lens brush or something.
But you guys give us wisdom and enlightenment, which is priceless.
Yes, our wisdom and enlightenment is worth.
No, you're right, and my entire I can't think of the word in that mention. But I run people out hard by one. I can get down and talk about something for 1 minute, and we get ready to go. There's nothing else to do. I'm not. you listen. I'm not putting any. I'm not doing any movies tonight. I'm just talking.
Yeah. We've got okay, now here could be a topic of discussion right here. So Jim's recently due to a booming family of additional grandchildren in his family, he's turning into a semi-pro baby photographer. He says with 2 new baby models and family, he gets no rest. Okay, so Jim, your mission, if you choose to accept it, this is like Mission Impossible. Your mission, if you choose to accept it, is to share a few baby photos and talk about what you're using for your gear and what flashes you're using or how you're setting things up. If you have time to do that, but it sounds like you probably don't have time to do that. But if you do, share some information. And I'm sure there's. And let's be real too. I mean, at least what my parents did when I was a kid, photography was all about family. Photography, it was the Kodak. It was the Kodak generation, right? I mean, people were doing, weddings and high school graduations and their kids growing up and family picnics and sporting events that their kids were involved with and things like that. And I know my mom took probably tens of thousands of pictures when I was a kid, and they were all of people. I don't think she ever did a landscape photo or a sunrise or a sunset. It was always family. It was always people. And so Jim's going to find himself emphasizing a lot, like he's saying, on grandchildren. He's going to have so many pictures of his grandchildren, he's going to run out of wall space real fast. We've got yeah, I mean, we do IOUs or we'll do fake promises.
I thought, that's why. Sorry about that. You got all these people standing right now. If somebody here doesn't have something to say, I mean, we got to get rid of them. I'm just kidding. But
All right.
I mean,
Okay, we can go.
well, you know what? That's the whole point, is everybody's out to get on there and talk about it. Talk about what's going on, what's in the camera industry. I mean, all kinds of stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, Jeff, there's one thing we can offer as a prize is we can offer an hour with a panel member of your choice on Zoom so you can get your questions answered.
Sounds like
Of whatever photography topic that you want. So if you want to know everything about birds, you can ask Gustavo or you can ask Jeff. If you want to know anything about vintage cameras, you can ask Roy. If you want to know anything about all the cameras that Randall has, there's Randall. And if you want to know about cats, you ask Chuck.
Or you want to know how to set up a studio in your home, you ask Chuck.
Yeah.
And
Joe Man's in laying us.
but but can we fit them in? We got room. We got a double row here on the. It's like a film strip now.
Your mama so you can play.
Yeah, mama's letting you come on, Joey.
For now, how you guys doing? How is everyone?
Hey, we're just kind of slumming along here for the first. Looks like maybe for the first hour. Hopefully, we get some people that want to bring up some topics. I mean, I got a few things we could talk about, but
Get onto the flesh.
everybody, yeah, I'll jump into. Well, first, we'll just see, Joe. Are you doing anything interesting other than keeping your wife happy, which I hope is your priority?
Just moved actually. So these are the new digs. I haven't really lit everything. There's drums in the background on a boat, and I don't know. It's all new. It's all new, Jeff. But no, everything's good. Work's been super busy. I'm
Hey,
sitting
Joe,
on
I
like,
got two pieces of advice for you as a newlywed. Number one,
bring it on.
don't ever have a joint bank account.
Okay.
Number two, it's always 70-30. Her 70 and you 30, and you're good to go.
Yeah, I mean, whatever she says, I do. That's kind of the way I look at it.
Yeah.
She knows more than me.
But you got the first
And-
one
and-
right. No joint accounts.
Yeah,
Joe,
Just keep her
no
happy.
joint accounts.
Yeah, whatever she wants. Yeah, I just
Do not.
Yeah. Yeah. No. I don't know about that one.
No
Yeah,
joint
I do.
accounts. I'm 68 years old. Let me tell you, young man.
You tell me, John. Sorry. So wait, John. No joint. What? I'm kidding. No.
No joint accounts.
Just
Exactly.
joints. I'm just kidding. No.
You could have joints together.
There
Yeah.
we go. I like
That's a different thing.
That's okay.
that.
You
And
can
that's
have
legal
you can
in
have a
Canada.
joint.
Oh yeah, it is. It is. But yeah, no, everything's good. I'm sitting on about 6 videos that I haven't had a chance to edit yet, so I'm hoping to finally have time to edit all of them here in the next, 2 to 3 weeks. I got a couple work trips coming up, but after that, I really want to get them exported and done because I've had the content on my external hard drive for about 3 weeks now, and my home computer was moved, everything was gone, my camera was moved, like everything except me. So it's I'm excited to get those ones out. I did this shoot at this amp builder's house with a bunch of different Panasonic gear, so we're gonna kind of do sort of like an interview style with him and kind of share his story. So it's gonna be cool.
Yeah, I told my wife I thought of a T-shirt that I could sell that has nothing to do with photography, and it would be a T-shirt that you just sell to men, and it would just basically say, "Yeah, I know it's my fault." That would be the only thing on the shirt.
That's right.
And you're
Very good. Very good.
Or you might want to
words of
say,
wisdom.
or you might want to
Jeff
say,
and Leslie, 42 years. So I'm going to be, let's see,
1 month.
Jeff and Leslie, in less than a week, I'm going to be 42 years of marriage as well.
Really?
I beat you with 46.
Yeah.
Just
Yeah.
a bit.
Wow.
Just beat you.
So I'm hitting 42 on October 2nd. Will be 42 years for me and the wife.
That's where your hair went.
Congratulations.
You know, and I have no regrets. I can honestly say that I have no
That's
regrets.
I'll be 18 years October 6th.
I thought you looked like you were more like 20 or 25, though.
Gee, thanks.
I feel like this is
But,
quickly, rapidly deteriorating into like a possum lodge meeting.
Could be.
I think it's over their head, Joe.
Yeah, they're not red-green fans. That's a shame. Well, if women don't find you handsome, they should at least find you handy. Now it's time for the handyman's secret weapon, duct tape.
Duct tape, yeah. Oh,
Just remember, I'm a man. I can change. If I have to, I guess.
Yeah, that's the mantra. Yeah.
There was a funny video. I mean, I'm talking 10 years ago or more that I saw on, I think it was on might have been even on TV. I don't even know if it was on the internet or not, but it was so funny because it was someone that fixed any problem with the house with duct tape. If he had a leaky gutter, it had duct tape. If he had a leaky garden hose, it had duct tape. If he had like a decorative item in his front yard where a part of it broke off, it got it reattached with duct tape. And the guys, you just looked at the guy's house and what was in his yard, and everything just had duct tape on it. It was absolutely great.
Hey, Boeing uses it to fix their windows.
Oh, keep their
That's
doors
really
in
well,
place.
though.
Yeah,
That's
they
what-
use duct tape. Every time I fly, I always take duct tape.
So I'm gonna share What's that?
Nothing. I'm just vamping. Go for it.
Oh, I'm just gonna share something quick. You guys know I collect vintage stuff, so Roy will figure out what this is, even though it's in a box. So this is something vintagey. Is that a new word? Vintagey?
Well, I'm pretty vintage myself.
It's an icon. It's in a little box like this. Little box like this. And it's an accessory for a camera, for a Nikon camera. And I will take it out of the box. And this will tie in with my some future conversation on my Did You Know series that I haven't done in a while. But this is maybe I could bring my screen a little bigger. I don't know. Well, I think everybody will be able to see it. So this is a flash coupler for a Nikon F.
Or F2.
Or F2, yeah. Okay.
You put it on the side, right?
So you put it. So I got a Nikon F here that I'm going to show you.
It mounts on the left side.
It mounts on the side where your rewind crank is. And these little these narrow tabs on the side here, protrusions. They're kind of a little bit spring loaded. They kind of like it's like a force fit, and the plastic, this little piece of plastic on the top right here has a little slot in it. So the bottom of this flash coupler has a pin in it, and that slides. That's going to slide into. You slide this thing on, and that acts as a stop. And now you have your.
You guys crooked.
Come on, there we go. It's right above
Where'd
your
you get it?
winder. And it's a cold
Where
shoe.
did you find it, Jeff?
Pardon?
Where did you find it?
It took me a while to find one on eBay. I found one and I bought it because I didn't have one.
I've got a few
really?
myself.
But now if you own a Canon, the Canon F1s. Well, first of all, before I get to the Canon, so if you're wondering, well, why don't you have the cold shoe or the hot shoe on the top? And that's because you had interchangeable prisms for your Nikon F bodies. You could have one that was just had this is the Photo Mic, has exposure meter in it. You can have one that has no exposure meter, so you're using a handheld meter or using the Sunny 16 rule or whatever you want to use, and you're just looking through the viewfinder. Okay, so you have different options for the top, and the Canon F1 was the same thing in the Canon lineup. The Canon F1 had the same type of adapter that they used on their SLR cameras as well. But it actually is a little bit hard to find these. You find one every once in a while, but some of them look in really, really horrible shape, and I wouldn't buy them. But
Jimmy's got 500 of them.
Oh yeah, Roy. I think I paid $19 just for this piece of little piece. $19, and that was the deal.
Have this on it, a little cover to protect.
Yeah, well, I didn't get a cover. I didn't rate, so nobody gave me the cover. But,
it goes over the top of it to protect the contacts.
But
that was a cold shoe, correct?
This is a cold shoe. Yeah, this was a cold shoe.
There is a hot shoe version as well.
Yeah.
The F3 has a.
But it's interesting, what you try to find. It's just like, that one time when I was showing you that old Leica replica, from Japan, and on the rangefinder cameras, and basically you would have to buy those. Sometimes you would have to buy those slide-in loops to look through to get the proper framing for the longer lenses. because of parallax error, and so that, when you get into the old stuff, there's always weird kind of stuff that kind of tags along with it that you have to try to find, if you want to kind of complete it. But like I said, the F1, Canon F1 was the same kind of deal. And it's interesting to know, if those of you don't look at vintage cameras at all, if you're interested in vintage cameras, the sad news is people are overpricing them big time now. Used camera prices have gone considerably in the upwards direction. You want to get a near mint Canon F1. I'd like to add one in my collection someday. If you got one that's kind of in that mint range, you're going to be paying over $500 for it.
Oh, that's a hot shoe adapter. That's the one that you can actually put a flash on, and it's hot shoe.
Yeah.
That's for the F3, correct, Roy?
F2
F2. Okay.
and F3, I think.
And
F3's had its own flashes, though. Great big beasties.
And then, like I said, for the one that I showed you, you would run the PC sync cord,
Yes.
okay, off your flash and plug it into your camera body, and because that's a cold shoe, it doesn't have any electrical contacts associated with it. So,
Well, the flashes then those days had thyristors, so they actually read straight from the flash the exposure.
So
yeah,
John,
you're leading right into my.
Remember, John?
Oh, shut up then.
You're leading right into my did you know category. My did you know, I picked four things.
Wait a minute.
Right? Is this where it fits, Jeff?
Oops, let me.
Yeah.
Yep.
This fits
Slides
over the-
right. Yep. Slides from back to
Slides
front.
right here.
Yep. That's it.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay, I'll go look for them.
Yeah, they actually, on the box, they called it the label on the box says coupler for flash gun is what they called it.
Yes.
Coupler for a flash gun. Now, since I figured I'd have a little conversation sharing that with you, I did some did you knows. I like to dig back and just randomly my brain picks out things to look up to bedazzle everybody. Ha ha. But the first one is an electrically triggered flash lamp was invented by Joshua Lionel Cohen in 1899. His patent describes a device for igniting photographer's flash powder by using dry cell batteries to heat a wire fuse. And flash powder was a combination of magnesium and potassium chlorate. So
Lovely stuff.
that's
Great stuff, wasn't it?
So that's what flash powder
stuff.
was. And so, but the first one that was electrically, we found an electrical way of making that thing blow up was in 1899. Now we move ahead more than a few years. We move up to 1972, and we get into what they called auto thyristor flashes. And some of us have some of those flashes laying around, and Roy was getting ready to talk about them. So the auto thyristor flashes came out before TTL flash units, okay? The auto part in the name was possible by the use of a photo cell on the front of the flash that would detect the light reflecting off your subject, and it would turn the flash off when it detected you had a proper exposure. And those were the flash units that those of us that are old enough remember very well, because when the flash was recycling, the thyristor part of the name, you got auto thyristor. The thyristor part of the name was a technology that allowed the flash to conserve some of the stored power, because the battery, the energy got stored in a flash capacitor. Okay. So when your flash went off, if you did a full power flash, you'd hear your flash go, real high pitched sound as it was recycling and charging up again before your little light on the back of your flash would go from red to green and let you know that you can now take another picture. And of course, the great thing with the thyristor flash was that if you shot in manual mode and you cut the power down, you could shoot a lot of flashes in succession because you had that stored energy in the capacitor. So that's where that's what helped you decrease your recycle time with your flash. So that was back in 1972. So then,
the power tools.
So then
Sounds like a drone.
Nikon's first TTL, which was, they called them TTL flashes, but it was really through the lens metering. Okay, you were using, the camera was communicating with the flash. Now, somebody got a balloon that they're squeaking air on?
No, John.
No, it's my DJI Neo.
Oh,
I knew it was a drone. I knew it.
It follows me like a puppy.
Look at that.
There it goes again.
So instead of having a cat, you have a drone that follows you around.
Exactly. Exactly.
Well, you don't have to feed it. You don't have to pet it, right?
No.
You have to pay for the
And
things.
I tell you, it follows you just like a dog.
Those old
For
flashes
200
used to be
bucks.
louder, but they weren't. The new ones still make the same noise, just not as loud.
Yeah. Now,
For
now
200
Nikon,
bucks, you know.
you Nikon guys are going to remember this stuff. This is so Nikon's first TTL through the lens metering flash was the SB12. Came out with the F3 in 1980. Now, when digital SLRs came out, they changed the verbiage from TTL at one time to digital TTL or D-TTL. Okay, flashes. Those came out in 1999 for the D1 and the D100. Some of the flash models that were used on those cameras back in the day was the old SB28DX and the SB50DX, the SB80DX,
SB11.
and then future flashes like the SB600 and the 800. They were backwards compatible with a lot of technologies. They were backwards compatible with TTL, DTTL, and eventually ITTL. And ITTL came out in 2003 with the D2H and the D70, and the SB800 was the first flash that came out. And then the other ones that were ITTL was the SB300, 400, 500, 600, and 700, 900, 910, and then they had the SB-R200 and the SB5000. So those were all ITTL flashes.
SBR200.
And SBR200. And now what was ITTL, or what made ITTL different, was that it had a pre-flash that went off that you really did not see with your eye before the mirror got raised up. So it got metered using the viewfinder's RGB meter, and that low-level signaling flashes, they occurred before the shutter opened up, and then the full prescribed flash output would occur afterwards. And they said it's pretty fast, and humans just perceive it as part of the actual main flash going off. But there is a very, very slight pre-flash that goes off that you may not even be able to realize it's happening.
Still do it. Flashes still do it.
And
Hey, Roy, would you agree that the SB26 was the best of all the Nikon flashes?
I'd say the SB24 was good. SB26,
Yeah.
very good flashes. I like the potato mashes though. I like real power.
What is it, a Metz?
Is that a Metz?
No, this is a Nikon SB11.
Oh, really? I didn't know they made potato mashers.
Okay.
Looks like a
if you're
with the F3 plug on it.
Oh my God.
Yeah, a lot of anybody in here that's Joey's age probably has never seen one of those.
That looks
You
like
ever
something
seen
you
one
go
of those?
mining with.
Let's look like that.
Well, you leave it in your car as a protective weapon if need be.
You could. I've got a chest full of these, about probably 20 of them.
Oh man.
I didn't
Just
realize
in
I still
case
had
one
them.
breaks. Yeah.
Yeah. We used to
Good
set
to
them
have
all up at the
spares.
same time.
Yeah. You never know.
You'd set them
Things
up.
happen.
Once I set up 17, and when I went to collect them, I only had 16.
So
Light
that's
up a
like a little walk through memory lane with some different flash technology and when it came out, and yeah, but the potato mashers there were
That's a sensor there for.
yeah. Well, like that Minolta camera I showed last week, that flash had a little sensor on the front of it, so it would cut the power off.
They bounce. Bounce was a big thing in the 70s. Everyone bounced their flash. You didn't want to fire it straight at the people, did you?
No,
Especially
no.
this guy.
You had a white ceiling, you bounced it off the ceiling, or some of them had those pull out short little white cards. You know, if you got really desperate, or lots of times you would just put a diffuser panel on and shoot through the Gary Fong dome or something.
Well, whatever happened to that guy?
I don't know. I own one of those. I still have one of those domes, I think, laying around, but it's so old that it turned yellow.
Still in the box.
That it turned yellow. Oh wow, he still
Yeah,
has
the problem was that you don't always shoot full blast, and then. I think Roy should do a whole show just on flashes.
I like my flashes.
Roy could open.
Yeah, obviously.
Roy could. One of these days, the Nikon Museum is going to need to buy back something, and Roy's going to have an inventory of the last 15 ones that are in box. No
I keep looking for
cutting
places
on the
to
tape.
donate this stuff.
Mint.
the Nikon Museum is going to lose something, and then they're going to call Roy and say, "Hey, do you got one of these laying around?" And since we kind of talked about flashes, Nikon Rumors had a picture, and they were talking about, and this would be a flash that would be good if you were just using it for in the house for a birthday party or people at your house for Christmas type of thing. Godox came out with a new IM30 mini flash. It has a fixed head. It doesn't go side to side. It doesn't go up and down. It's only $34.90. It's a let's see. It's all manual. It's a fully manual flash. It's not automatic. So you got to think a little bit. It's got a guide number of 49.2 feet at ISO 100. Other features, it'll do up to 230 full power flashes. Has an optical S1 and S2 modes. It's hot shoe mounted, for the flash sync. It has 7 power levels, 1/64th power to full power. Recycle time is 3.6 seconds. And it has what they call 6500 CCT. So for those of you that don't know what CCT is, that means it has a LED light output, and the CCT stands for correlated color temperature. So that defines the color of the LED light in Kelvin. So 6,500 Kelvin is considered daylight balanced. So that's what that flash has, and it runs on two optional AAA batteries. So you have a small flash, just good for little shots in the house of your kids or Christmas time or whatever. Doesn't break the bank, $35. Throw it on your ZFC, throw it on your ZF, and as a decent enough guide number where it's probably good enough for that kind of indoor photography, but nothing overly serious. And it's kind of good, sometimes that you have a flash that runs on batteries too,
Yeah, I missed that. AA batteries everywhere.
It is nice to have a flash that has an option to run on batteries, because you could run down to the gas station or whatever and get batteries. And We got Chuck's got his hands full. There we go.
Hey, Jeff, do you remember that power pack? It was a high voltage power pack that hooked up to the Nikon speed lights.
Yeah, I had an off-brand.
What was the name of it?
I had an off-brand one that was actually a lead acid battery. It was a lead acid battery, and then you had like dummy dummy double, a cabled harness that had like a group of what looked like AA batteries, but they weren't real batteries. They were dummies, and you plugged that in, and you had to cut out a little notch in your what you closed your battery cover. You had to cut a little notch in it for the cable. I used that for weddings all the time. It was great. I could real quick recycle time. I could shoot the whole wedding. I didn't have to worry about bringing 12 or 16 AA batteries with me. You know.
Do you remember the name of that brand?
I'm gonna look it up and see if I kept it on my list of former camera gear.
We're doing that, Jeff. I gotta run. Bye, guys.
Take it easy, Joe.
See you, Joey.
Have a great week. Yeah, see y'all next weekend. Bye-bye.
Take care.
Right,
Godox made a copy of that quantum battery pack as well.
That's it. Quantum. There you go.
Yeah.
Quantum.
Their version's I think something 960.
That's it.
Yeah, there were a few brands that made those.
I made my own.
I'm not sure if mine was quantum or not, but it worked really good. And amazingly enough, that sucker, literally 20 years later, I charged that sucker up and was still able to use it. And it was a lead acid battery, and it still worked. It was
if it was
20
NiCad,
years
it probably wouldn't.
Pardon?
If it was NiCad batteries, it probably wouldn't work now.
No.
Yeah. But I always liked the for flash. I did have the SB800 when it came out. I liked the SB800 quite a bit.
SB800 is probably the least friendly, but the most powerful flash.
It was the most powerful one. Yeah. I mean, I think now I just have a 600.
The SB5000 is the latest, right?
Right, was the latest one. Yeah.
I had two SB700s till recently.
Yeah.
Now I've got one. Had an accident.
Yeah, and
Godox
the auto thyristor. Yeah, I mean some of the flashes that we'll remember from back in the day would be Vivitar would be one of them. Sunpack was really popular.
Nissan.
The potato mashers were still being used at that time too. The Mets but Sunpack and Vivitar, they were selling a lot of flash units, real lot of flash units back in the day.
You needed more power, so you needed the potato mashers quite often too.
Yeah.
Hey, how many of you guys remember a TV show called Love That Bob with Bob Cummings?
No, you lost me on that one.
Okay, well, the 1950s. You know who Bob Cummings is, right?
Yeah.
All right. Well, he had a TV show called Love That Bob, and he was a Hollywood photographer in L.A., in Hollywood. Okay, so he took these Hollywood glamour shots, and it was a kind of a sitcom back in the 50s, early 60s. So next month, I'm going to be taking a workshop on Hollywood glamour shots using nan lights. So I'm really excited about that. You know, the old style black and white style.
Yeah, they're totally different today, aren't they? The style was totally different.
Totally different, and it's just so beautiful, Ava Gardner type headshots, and all the big movie stars. I mean, it took a lot of work to shoot those back then, those days. But the lighting is using HMID lights, right? So it's super hot. Super hot.
That's why they call
Using
them
those
hot lights.
Yeah, right. Using those Hollywood lights. But the look, I tell you, it's just sublime. So
Skill, I think it was.
oh yeah, absolute skill. So there's a friend of mine who's going to give a workshop on it. So Diane and I are going to check it out.
That's the guy you interviewed, correct, John?
What's that? Yeah,
That's
right. Yeah, his name is Adam Xiao, and he went to Brooks Institute in California, and he so we took a couple courses from him already, and he's absolutely amazing.
Very good.
A few of the rumor things. A lot of lenses coming out. Of course, a lot of those Chinese third-party lenses come out like every week. It seems like there's another half Chinese third-party lenses coming out.
They're very good.
Tamron just came out with their 90 millimeter f2.8 macro lens for the Z mount. They used to have that same 90 millimeter macro lens for the F mount years ago. So this one's $699.
Oh, cheap.
Good price.
If it's as good as the F mount one, remember that one was famous, right, Jeff?
Yep. People liked it a lot. See, this is kind of stuff that I wish, if I had a big enough channel and I could say, hey, Tamron, send me one of those lenses to try out, I could compare it to the Z mount 105 or something, but I'm not going to buy it just to do a comparison test.
No.
But Jeff, still on the subject of flashes, because I think we were talking about the community, correct? So last week when I did a presentation and I was talking about flash photography for nature, correct? We talk about diffusers, correct? And I think it was several people here commented, including I think Eva makes some comment, Tim makes some suggestions, Luis makes some suggestions, and I went and buy it, correct? Buy what the suggestions. So this modifier. So I got this one that Mr. Luis
talked about. Yeah.
Correct. So I think this was like $16. This was also from Newer, and I got this one. Actually, this one I'm very pleased. I think certainly this is also from Newer.
What is
it? It has two small. You will see here diffusers that you can attach to your flash, and although they are made for square flashes, they work well with my Pro Photo. So I really like this one. I think for what Luis suggested for flash photography of, I put it here to show you.
That looks a lot like Joe. I'll shoot. I remember his name, but he has all those little bit. Yeah.
Mr.
Joe
Fong.
McNally.
Joe
McNally.
Yeah.
So there was nothing in the Pro Photo system that was a small softbox like this, correct? But for nature flash photography, correct? Snakes and insect, that was good. And this, so I think you guys made a recommendation. I think it was Eva that recommended Newer system. She recommended Dome. The Dome didn't know whether it fixed, but I found this one, correct? So again, this is the power of the community here helping. And I tried out on here at home. It really worked the way I wanted, right? And this package comes with two. It comes with a round head or an octagonal head and the square head, right? So I certainly going to try to put it to use.
Yeah, it's funny stuff like that. I mean, I think I have one of those. I don't know that it's Newer because I've had it for a long time, so I don't think Newer existed at the time. But I have something like similar with the Velcro strap that goes around your speed light. That's like that. I don't remember who made it though. I'd have to try to find them. I haven't used it in such a long time. But Yeah, you normally find that's the kind of stuff that you'll find a lot of that kind of stuff on Amazon.
Exactly, and but that's what I needed, correct? And and Profoto didn't do one this small, right? So I ended up buying this one, and turned out to be exactly what I was looking for.
Yes,
So
a bit bigger than the standard flash. Makes the light source bigger, softer.
Yes, but remember, this is for close-up of relatively small insect and reptile, correct? So we know that I know that will work, correct? So places like Costa Rica, where you sometimes need flash, this will be an ideal companion.
Get those tree frogs.
Exactly.
Those tree frogs.
So, thanks to those that made the recommendation. It was the right recommendation, and I got what I needed.
Fel put in a question here, and I think David asked him what he's using it for. I don't know if he. Okay, street photography and architecture photography, and sometimes for portraits. To be honest with you, I think for street photography, a 14 to 30 is really, really wide. The 24 to 120 for me is a great street photography lens. 14 to 30, especially if you're using it at the 14 end, you gotta, composition becomes tricky because you want to make sure you have a good foreground element in your image. But if you were choosing in general between a 14-30 or a 16 millimeter from Viltrox, I don't know. We probably all have different opinions on that. I'd probably want the flexibility of the 14 to 30, but depends on
14-30.
This is the 14 to 30 right here.
Yeah, I would recommend the 14 to 30.
14-30. It's worth its weight in gold.
I can touch the camera.
Put your fingers up to it, Chuck, so we could see just so you see how weird your fingers look.
Yeah.
Giant hands. Chuck, when Chuck does that, he can now grip a basketball with one hand.
Hey, can I ask you guys? Can I ask you guys a question?
Yeah.
All of you. All right. How many of you have the Z6 III? Okay.
Randall.
That's it? You don't, Jeff?
It's a good camera, but it's not enough megapixels for me.
No, I got the Z8.
Anybody on the panel?
That's all I need.
Okay. No, I just wondered because I've been using mine quite often. And I tell you, for the money, it is huge bang for the buck.
It is. It's a great camera.
It is. I mean, right, Randall? I mean, it is like, huh?
I had two, and I gave one to Peter Gregg. But
oh my God! Look at that. Two.
That's his favorite camera.
It is. It's.
Later on in the show, I'm going to share a link or a presentation from Photography Life on a recent article they did talking about the Z6 III and comparing it to the Z6 II and the ZF. So I'm going to put that up on the screen in a little bit. And they said the Z6 III to them was finally at a good enough level where for a lot of people it would be a good second camera if you had a Z9 or a Z8, that the quality was good enough.
The quality is there, but it's a different camera. It's a two different.
Yeah, it's too different.
A few $100 more. So
but for the price, you see, the price point, this thing just kills it for the price point.
It's a great camera for the price.
Yeah,
it's just simply amazing because I use it on my trip to Bangkok. With the 24-120, and that's it. That's all you need. Finish. End of story.
We got J Rod is now in here, and I'm not a coffee drinker or anything like that, but my wife is every year for Christmas I order from Amazon like 60 K-cups of pumpkin spice coffee because she likes to drink it year round and it's a seasonal type of thing. So I always buy her a whole bunch of K-cups of pumpkin spice coffee so that it takes her through the rest of the year until we get to the fall again. She's a big pumpkin spice drinker. Loves it.
Oh, really?
Yeah, she loves it. We got, let's see. Okay,
There's some
Fel
questions
saying he
here from
lives in New York City and the buildings are tall, loves being able to get all the buildings in frame.
Yep.
What you need, Fel, is you got to win the lottery and buy a tilt shift lens, so you can so you don't have the buildings falling over on you.
Yeah, but the focal length on the tilt shift is they start at 24.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you want something shorter. Like Lawa makes a 10, and that the reviews that I've seen make it very interesting. But I want to use for that before I get it. I've got their 12 and the 15, and they're great.
Okay, Guy, we got Sanjit with a computer question. Seeking recommendations, need new hardware for processing raw files with Adobe and Topaz. Which Mac Mini would handle heavy files and save on processing time? I
My Mac's
can't answer that because
It would be the latest one, but you can't still beat a M1 Max or M2 Max because it's built in. I think the newer Mac Mini has that chip built into it also. So that's your fastest, the latest version.
Get as much memory as you can. They were only shipping it with 8 gigabytes before. Now they're doing 16.
Yeah, compare to your different options because you may even compare your memory options in a Mac Mini compared to, let's say, their laptop series and see which one gives you the most memory and give you the most memory.
You can't really upgrade because all the components are soldered in.
Yeah, you got to pay for it out of the gate, as they say. You can't add it later on.
But
So
Randall is correct. Any of the Mac Minis after the M1, I don't think we can throw anything.
Mac Studio is the same way. You can't add to it. You got to buy it with what
it's an Apple thing.
Oh, yeah, right. That's
So Sanjay, you're going to be good. You find a good price on a Mac Mini after the M1. Although I agree with Randall, the M2 seems to be better. But if you can take the M4 chip, then you are, future proofing yourself, correct? Because then you will have access to those AI utilities that are going to come. So if you have
if
already,
you're not doing a lot of video though, you could believe you me. I mean, I'm processing. I got an M1 Mac Studio with the M1 chip, and I have no problem at all with anything. Anything I do. You really only need the M2 chip or higher is if you're doing multiple 8K videos and processing them at the same time, and you're doing heavy video stuff, then maybe you need that. But if you're doing one video at a time and you're doing 4K or 6K video content and you're doing raw files, you can easily handle anything with an M1 chip, and save yourself a little money, but get the most memory that you can afford to get. That is the definite thing. You want to have.
How much memory did you put in yours, Jeff?
I'd have to look. I'll look it up and see what I got. I don't even remember. Let's see. I got 32 gigabyte.
Oh, that's a lot. That's good.
I got 32 gigs, which is
expensive on an Apple.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I got 2 of them. So I got 132 gig, 164 gig, and then the M3 Max MacBook. I got 36, and that's the fastest processor. But they all work great.
Yeah. Yeah. the whole thing, like I said, when they came out with the M2 chip, that was the people who benefited the most from that were video. I mean, serious video intensive people. I mean, doing 8K stuff, doing multiple things at the same time. But if you're doing what most of us would be doing, an M1 with some good memory is going to be more than good enough for you. So just look at the different Mac options and see what they let you buy, what features they have in terms of memory for each product line, because it isn't necessarily all the same. That's where they get you.
It'll run much
Can I
faster.
ask
than normal.
Roy a question? Roy, can I ask you a question, buddy?
Certainly.
I bought this 24 2.8 AIS.
Yes.
What do you think of it?
Excellent. One of their better lenses.
Oh, is it?
Yes. Very sought after by video shooters.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah. If you
Yeah,
want
but
that
it's-
wide field of view, I rather go for a 20 millimeter, but yeah, that's a
Depends
good
on what
lens.
you're shooting. 24 is probably the most versatile of the very wides.
No, I just happened to find it secondhand on the shelf, so I snagged it because somebody says, "Oh, this is a good lens."
It is. Because you can take that inside and outside. So
Yeah, and it works great, with these with the Z cameras.
Yep.
Oh, what's the aperture on?
2.8.
2.8.
Oh, 2.8. That's excellent. Yeah.
Yeah.
Those AIS lenses are just so pleasant to use, aren't they? They're just smooth and buttery.
yeah.
And
Oh, it's smooth.
yeah. The only thing is, don't get one with mold in it. Mold's a lens killer.
Yeah. Look
Yeah.
for you see anything that looks like gray hair inside?
A bit
No.
of dust is okay, but not mold.
Yeah, you don't want the fungus and you don't want the mold. You don't want the green and you don't want the white spots that you may see in there, because you can get rid of the I've taken lenses apart, you can clean them if the fungus hasn't had time to etch into the glass yet, but you can't tell that lots of times from just looking at it. You don't know that until you go to clean it, and sometimes you clean it all off, and sometimes you can't get it off at all, and it etched into the glass, and you could still take a picture with it, but depends how bad it is. It could make your image a little soft. It all depends on how how many lens elements in that lens have that fungus on it,
When I'm buying a lens, I take a little torch. Show the torch
shine a
through an
light
angle.
through it.
There's fungus among us.
There's fungus
Yes.
among us, and it's not toe fungus, lens fungus. Maybe we buy this stuff to use for toe fungus and see if it works on a lens. I don't know.
Hey guys, I'm going to head to bed.
Bye, Chuck. Have a good night.
Okay, Chuck.
Have a good
to
one.
See you, buddy.
See you,
Looking good.
Noah. See you, Noah. Yeah, I know
Good
you're
night,
there
Chuck.
somewhere.
Say hello to Maribel for us.
All right, I sure will. All right, bye-bye.
Take it easy.
UV light and sunlight can kill fungus too. But once you got fungus,
Remember I bought that Minolta lens, and it had the radioactive isotope in it, and when the lens was yellow, and I bought a certain lamp, and I made like a little rig up with some aluminum
UV.
foil, and I shot the light through that lens, and I got it so it was clear. But that took a while. I mean, I had the light shining on that lens for 2 days and 2 or 3 days straight before I turned it off, and it did clear it up. So there is a process that you can use to try to get rid of the yellowing from a radioactive element lens from way back when. and I could talk about that some show and find my little my lamp, because it was only a certain lamp that a lot of people were talking about using that worked, and they didn't make the lamp anymore. I think it was sold by IKEA or something, and I had to buy one used on eBay, and it did work. It did work. And
24 2.8.
What one's that, Roy?
That's the 24 2.8.
Yeah.
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 Is that D or G or what?
AIS.
AIS.
Oh, AIS. Yeah, I got the D version. Yeah.
I got that too.
Yeah.
That's also a very good lens.
Yeah.
Nikon's very good at making ultra wides and wides.
There's a few few people in here commenting on they might have bought the Z6 III if it came out before the Z8, but then that was Nikon's plan all along, was to you buy a Z8 and then people that bought the Z8 probably, some of them, certain percentage of them could have gotten away with buying the Z6 III, but they already bought the Z8. So I don't regret it because I have the same megapixels that I got with my Z9. I could switch back. I have all the same settings on both cameras. I just seamlessly go from one to the other.
Most of the buttons are in the same place.
Yeah, I just wish that I would hope that at some point in time they come out with a higher capacity battery that you could put in the Z8.
The trouble is, a higher capacity battery for the same size won't hold its charge as well. If you follow me?
Yeah.
If the less you push into a battery, the longer they last. They hold their charge longer.
J Rod's happy with his Z6, and yeah,
I've got a Z6.
Works great.
Use it.
Yeah, nothing wrong with the Z6.
I used it last night on a fairground.
You did?
Yeah. Fairground's about 10 miles away, so it was on a 600mm lens, but...
Say hello to Albert.
Well, I like the size of it.
Albert's in the house. Hello, Albert.
I like those AIS lenses. They feel good.
Albert is here in the house. And
hey, what is this Nikon LUX or LUT? Is it
LUT? Well, those are LUTs.
Look up tables. That's video related stuff.
Is it free or what?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, it
yeah,
is.
but
This
it's not.
from,
You don't put it in your camera.
I see.
You have to put it in either a monitor, or you have to load it into your software package.
This is a residual from the purchase of Red.
Correct. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
It's so you can use your Nikon cameras and keep them compatible with your Red cameras.
Yeah. If you used, supposedly that was the 3 most popular LUTs that are used on the Red cameras, and if you now want to use let's say your Z8 or your Z9 for B-roll footage or something to add to one of your 6K or 8K Red cinema cameras, you can pretty much match up the look of your video footage by using those LUTs.
Well, what does LUT stand for?
Think of it as like a picture control setting that you would use on a still, but it's for defining your saturation and your brightness and your contrast. It's like it's like a look that they sell to apply to your video content to make it look a certain way. And it's
like Skittles.
It's like Skittles. It's like, yeah, they got a hold of Mr. Skittles and used his stuff. But that's kind of all it is. But unfortunately, most of the those LUTs, I don't know that they work with like Final Cut Pro that I use on the Mac. You might have to use the higher end packages like DaVinci Resolve, or I think there's one other more expensive package. So there's limitations on where you could use those LUTs, and when you start getting into using LUTs, then usually you're spending a little bit more time processing your video than put it to you this way, then I want to spend. I'm happy with just using a color wheel and making my adjustments using a color wheel in my app, my video app, and works good enough for me. I'm not selling video content. It's good enough for what I do. But everybody has their own. But for those that want to have their Red and their Nikon video footage look the same, they're all very excited about it.
Has anybody tried the Nikon Cloud?
Not me.
I thought they were still having problems with that. So
Yeah, they're having issues with it, and some of their firmware, actually, I think I reported on it a few weeks ago. Some of their firmware updates that they were supposed to come out with on some of their Z cameras is being held up because of issues with it working with that cloud.
Okay.
But what I'm wondering is, a good month ago or longer, Nikon rumors talked that or thought that the Z9 was going to have a firmware update to improve the autofocus even more than it already was. But then when they're talking about these delays, they're talking about having problems with the Nikon Cloud. So now, I'm not sure whether the firmware update's just going to be for Nikon Cloud stuff or whether it's going to be for other stuff as well, because they're not elaborating enough so that one way or the other. And so let's see. But that's what all that is about. Speaking of lenses, we talked about the Tamron macro. They've got they just announced for $199 on Amazon, they're selling the TT Artisan 75mm f2 full frame autofocus Z mount lens for $199. They got a 7 Artisans. It's so funny. You got TT Artisans and you got 7 Artisans. Oh, it's kind of like, man, they're all naming themselves pretty close to each other here. So 7 Artisans announced a new and improved manual focus 60mm f2.8 2x macro lens, full frame for a Z mount for $355. And it also has an autofocus 85mm f1.8 full frame lens and Z mount that is now available for $299.
Wow.
And they have
to stop them down a bit.
Yeah, they have a Mikey. I don't know if they call it Mikey. I guess
Mickey.
Mickey Mouse, Mickey.
No, Mickey.
35mm f2 full frame autofocus lens for Z mount is $179.99. Don't forget the 99 cents. That's important.
Very cheap, but not as impressive.
Yeah. The Z 50mm f1.4 that we talked about a week or so ago is now in stock.
Okay.
And the Z6 III has firmware updates, 1.02, but it's all bug fixes. 2 things it fixed was camera would fail to record videos correctly on some CFE cards, and I think Randall ran into that problem, if I remember right.
It didn't work on mine.
Yeah. And so they addressed that. You'll have to try out those cards that didn't work and now updo the firmware and let us know if they fixed it.
Yeah, I already did that.
Did it fix it?
Video. Yeah.
It work?
No.
They still don't work.
And I sent them an email saying it didn't work, and they said they'll get back to me on Monday.
Okay. And then they said uploading pictures via the Ethernet would fail with an error on the Z6 III. So those are the two things they say they fixed, but it sounds like they might have only fixed one of the two, but we'll find out. We talked about the mini flash. If you want to take a good nap, you can look at the organizational chart, basically, of Nikon announcing a reorg of their corporate structure. They show that information on Nikon Rumors. It's really just a higher tier,
Waffle.
the CEO. Here's a line. This group reports to him, and then underneath that, these people report to them. It's just it's nothing overly exciting that's going to get anybody jumping up and down. Doesn't matter to me. Just keep doing what you're doing. There's a link on the Nikon Rumor site for an NX Studio how-to with someone named Heather Morrow, who I don't know. It's a beginner's guide to Nikon's free software. So if you do not have NX Studio on your computer and you've always wanted to try it out, you can go and watch that beginner's guide for free, and it is on Nikon Rumor's website. So I recommend that you do that, and then maybe that'll make you want to download it if you haven't done it already. I don't have it on my computer, and I keep telling myself I'm going to download it, and I haven't done it yet. So shame on me. Nikon Rumors also has a group of pictures on their website for the Nikon Comedy Wildlife 2024 finalists. They're all displayed on Nikon Rumors for your viewing pleasure, and then there's a link where you can vote for the People's Choice. So if you want to see what is supposed to be some funny wildlife videos, you can go to Nikon Rumors. I didn't find myself falling out of my chair for any of them, to be honest with you, but supposedly they're funny. And yeah, what I'll do, let me just see what we got going on in the chat here. J Rod saying M4 Max will be out this fall. Yeah, pretty soon. It's like, yeah, after spending what I spent on a Mac Studio, it's going to be a long time before I buy another computer. Long time.
Wouldn't be too bad if you could upgrade it, would it?
Yeah, it would be nice if you could, right?
Well, you can if you're still under the Apple support. They will allow that. So if you went to an M1, M2, what, they're coming out with an M3 now or M4?
It says M4 is coming out in the fall.
Now, were they supposed to come out with the new iMac?
And that'll never happen.
I don't know.
That will never happen, Randall.
Yeah,
I don't know. They're thinking of skipping the 3 to the 4, and that is supposed to come out next year.
They want to stick you with the Mini and the Mac Mini and the Studio. You're going to be stuck with iMac 21-inch.
yeah.
I think this is a strategy.
Yeah, Jeff and Leslie, kind of in the commentary similar to what I was saying as I go back and look at the comments here. And he's saying get the M2 with 24 gigs in the drive size of your choice. M2 Pro is not really needed for stills. If you do video, get the M2 Pro. Yeah, I would argue that the M1 is good for most people's video content. But I find myself that the problem is with as these cameras, whether it be increased sensor size or and just you
What's for lunch?
Taking off for lunch,
I gotta
John?
go, guys. Yeah, I gotta go to lunch.
All right.
One more
see you,
thing
John.
before I leave.
Yeah.
One more thing before on the 8th of October, probably the 8th to the 10th around there. I'm going back to Phuket for that crazy 9 Emperors Festival, vegetarian festival where they throw all the firecrackers.
Oh,
like last year. All right.
With all the smoke and everything.
Yeah. So what I'll do is, because it'll be Sunday morning, I'll try to do a live stream so you guys can get a taste of it.
Oh my God.
Okay.
As long as I don't have to breathe in the smoke, I'm good with it.
Nah, you're 15,000 miles away. Don't worry about it.
Well, I know. That's what I'm saying as a joke. You could breathe it in there, and I'll pretend I'm breathing it in
Okay,
here.
so stay tuned for that.
And John,
It'll be
remember
kinda
to send
fun.
us some. Remember
What's
to send
that?
us some. Remember to send us some photos for the photo review. You and
Yeah,
Diane.
yeah. No, I'll do that tonight. Right?
Thank you.
Okay, you guys, take care.
Sounds good.
Bye, John.
Take it easy, John.
Bye.
Thanks for coming on.
You bet.
Yeah, Eva's taken off too.
You guys taking off?
No,
Must be putting it
Eva
to sleep.
is.
Oh, Eva's taking off. Okay.
Eva, check later. I will share some of the tarantula photos if you like that type of stuff.
Night, Eva.
Let's see, Albert. Throw this up before I'm gonna put up that article from Photography of Life in a minute about the Z6 III, but I'm gonna just go through here and see what other people have been talking about here. Only Albert's saying the only way to fully capture the building's short distance is to use a 4x5 large format, since the shift capacity of the large format will enable you to tilt the lens without much distortion. The only thing is, with a 4x5 large format, that's probably really, really hard to set that up if you're on the streets of New York, I would think. You're going to get, that thing's going to get knocked down on the ground. I don't know. I'm not a New Yorker. I've only been there a few times. And when I was walking on the sidewalks, I kept looking down because there were so many holes in the sidewalks or cracks in the sidewalk. I was afraid I was going to, like, if I just looked ahead, I was going to fall in a giant hole and never come back, Didn't look too safe for me.
There's some tilt shift adapters for Z mount now, so that's an option.
Yeah, Phil's saying buy some of those F-mount lenses before they're gone.
They're still good.
They're still good.
Oh, wow.
I mean, I sold a few F-mount lenses I had, but I probably still have 5 or 6 of them, something like that. I didn't get rid of all of them.
Yeah, I've got a few.
We're talking about the 1.4 lenses. They're both at my camera store, the 35 millimeter and the 15 millimeter f1.4. Wow.
I've already got the 1.2, so I'm happy.
I got the 1.8s also. So
Yeah, that's a good lens.
The
Actually, I prefer the 1.8 to the 1.4.
it's sharper.
lens fungus. A lot of these things, the mold and the lens fungus is more if you're buying vintage glass and vintage cameras, because a lot of these items were either stored in damp basements or up in the attic somewhere where it was very, very hot and humid, and they were not necessarily in a case and in a temperature controlled part of the house. And so that stuff just develops in there. Now, the what you use to get rid of fungus is hydrogen peroxide.
On the bare lens elements.
On the bare lens elements is hydrogen peroxide. But like I said, if the fungus is just starting to show up and you're looking at a lens and it kind of looks like it's wispy looking and like it's like say you picked off a little piece of a cotton ball, it's growing off the lens and it probably hasn't been on there long enough yet to etch the glass yet, and you can maybe take a chance on that. And if you're willing to buy the tools to take your lens apart and clean the elements manually, you could get a really good deal. But it's you don't want to pay a lot for lenses where you see that condition, because it is a crapshoot. If you get the lens super cheap, it might be worth taking the risk.
If it's a manual lens, you might be able to pull it apart, but if it's got any electronics in it, I wouldn't recommend it for most people.
Yeah, no, I'm talking glass like your your non-AI or your AI lenses, that type of thing. Not anything,
Simple lenses.
not any autofocus lenses. But yeah, it's just something you got to look out for. And unfortunately, like when people are advertising these lenses, some of them will do video clips, and like Roy says, you shine a flashlight through it and look at it both ways. Shine it from the back through to
At
the
an
front
angle.
at an angle. Move it around, see what you can see, and
Dust is okay. Mold isn't.
Yeah, mold is like. But anyway, it's a very, very common thing because of a lot of those old lenses and stuff that are being sold. It's like, well, somebody will say, well, that was my grandfather's grandfather's stuff, and I found it in the attic, and he passed away, and now I'm going to sell it on eBay, and then they price it like the lens is in perfect shape, and they don't know anything about it. And buyer beware, big time. Buyer beware.
I put an image there, a couple of things that had chair. But a word warning here: if you don't like tarantulas, you better don't look at the photos. But I went and photographed the tarantula migration. I was saying there in the comment this week, so I spent a couple of one evening, one morning in the Comanche National Forest, and I photographed some tarantulas. I did most of what I wanted, but I still made some shot as usual. Jeff, you make some boo-boo in your photography, and then you say, okay, I had to. I put it on the camera at one point without knowing. Put the camera on DX mode, one of the Z8, and so. But I'm happy with the photo, but I have some new ideas.
Let me. I'm just trying to catch up with the chat here, quick.
I never use DX mode in case I forget it.
Yes, you have a reminder there, correct? That is flashing in the viewfinder.
Yeah.
But when you're on a non-comfortable position, it's very difficult to see.
I'll bring up your photo, Gustavo, and then after we show your photos, I'm going to put up the article from on the Z6 III.
Yes.
All right.
So I was trying to go for that kind of low angle, close to the ground, right? Of these tarantulas in this area here in the within the national forest. The best way to see them is going around the country roads that go into the national grassland, and they will be moving from one side of the road to the other. The ones that migrate, Sanjay was asking, are the males, which at this time of the year they are looking for the burrows of the females, right? So this is a female, and I didn't get exactly what I wanted, but I was looking for this low angle close to the ground, right? So that you can see more or less the road where they are going through.
Did your wife get the picture of you when you fell on these rocks and you had 100 of them all over your body? Did you get that?
No, but my wife took a couple of pictures of me taking the photos. You really get close, correct? This actually was taken with a 24-120, a 43 millimeters. But you need it. So if I make a little, I probably put a little presentation like I did with the hummingbirds and show you and introduce this national grassland to you. There's some good opportunities, David, there for night photography as well, which I hope to exploit next year. But no, we have great fun. So we went. It's about 3 hours from home, so we stay in a place nearby and took some of these photos. And luckily, my wife helped me out. Correct. So sometimes with the diffuser, so they come out late in the afternoon. So you have like an hour before sunset, and then you have you have a little bit more than a couple of hours in the morning, right? So no, we have fun. It's a show of nature. that you see these tarantulas moving along the ground there. Sometimes you see a lot, so sometimes you see only a few. Then you drive a little bit, and then you see another bunch crossing the road. So let me go here to
You gotta do your tarantula jokes. Why did the tarantula cross the road?
Exactly. I actually ended. Let me see if I can.
Do they all stand up like that on their tippy toes, or is it just my imagination?
No, they walk in the tippy toe. As a matter of fact, one of the things that I didn't do this time, this thing doesn't let me. Okay, I can move it. One of the things that I wanted to do, Roy, and I probably will try to do the next year, as usual with photography, it's all learning, is that when they practically blind, and let me go here to Photoshop so that you can see a little bit more detail. What is Photoshop coming? What is not showing me? Oh, hold on a second, guys. I need to move the window. All right. So one of the things they do, so I can, now that I'm in Photoshop, I can show you, correct? They are practically blind, correct? And so they have,
because they have all that hair covering their eyes.
exactly. So they actually have two pseudo eyes here, and they have one in the back, correct? And
Wow.
so they are pretty. They sense more movement. They see some movement, so sometimes they freeze when you walk around them. Sometimes they ignore you; they just keep walking. So you have to keep moving. But the interesting thing is that when they detect something in front, and this is the photo that I didn't manage to get, they will raise their front legs, correct, and and then try to put the fans out. So that's one of their mechanism. The other mechanism is at this we see today, but didn't this yesterday, but didn't manage to photograph, is that they are pretty docile, correct? But if they feel harassed, they will go with their uh, bottom legs, and they will basically uh, uh, scratch their abdomen, and some of these they release some of these hair that can be quite irritant. Okay? So they do a couple of things. By the way, Randall, these are called Texas brown tarantulas. Correct?
Right. Yeah.
So they are in the migration time now, and we go to this place called La Junta, where they celebrate the migration. So we know around this area we can around the migration time we go and try to be there for at least one night and try to get some of the photos. But there are some great other opportunities. So I have a couple of other photos that I wanted to share. I think it's this one. I like this one here because it was more like a frontal view.
Look how sharp.
Gustavo, are you going to put these in the weekly photo review so we can get them on the calendar?
No, these will not. I don't think anything here is quality for the photo review. But I here's
good for Halloween now. Good for Halloween.
Good for the Halloween. So you can see. Pretty interesting. So for those of us that are in this kind of thing, I know Jeff and Leslie like snakes and stuff like that. So, but so I managed to get some of the stuff. I don't know exactly when, but I will put a little presentation because that national grassland there in the southern part of Colorado has some interesting stuff. It has some dinosaur track as well that you can visit, and David, I think it would be great for night photography with some interesting subject in the front. But that's what I was doing this week, guys. Taking some tarantula photos.
So how big are these guys?
Size of your hand.
Exactly. Like these are the males, which are a little bit smaller, but they are basically the females are a little bit bigger than your hand. And these are like the palm of your hand.
Right.
Yeah, too big for me.
Yeah.
Now, when they mate with the females, do the females eat the males? Some spider species do that.
I think that yes, that they sometimes can survive and try to look for another female, but basically when they manage to inseminate the females, that's the end of the life cycle. I think they spend like 3 or 4 years on their own, and when they are mature enough to go on this migration, then they go on migration and looking for the burrows where the females are. Okay, we saw some of the burrows as well. Okay, but if you want to entice the females to come out, sometimes you can put a little bit of a straw and in the front of the hole, and they sometimes come out. But we basically are there for a migration. Correct. And so seeing these males. So I will put a presentation at one point, obviously not for next week because it's the photo review, but I think it's pretty interesting. It's another thing, for some of those that like the natural history to share. Right?
Now, did you use a flash for these?
I actually took the flash, but it did not use it. I actually ended using the same that I used last year, which is it's a diffuser. So my wife was holding the diffuser sometimes, obviously for the close-up. For this one, I had to try to balance I managed to balance in the afternoon light with the light in the background without needing to use a flash or the diffuser or the reflector. Right? But that was the reason why I was interested in the flash, although I didn't use it as much as I wanted, because you have little time and then you start fiddling with stuff. As a matter of fact, next week I show you how I was setting up the camera, because my wife took a couple of pictures of me working with the camera and taking the photos, which it will be interesting for some of you. But basically that's what I was doing, guys.
Excellent.
Okay, very good. Very good.
So
Nothing
you can
like-
still sleep at night?
Nothing like a few creepy crawly images.
Exactly.
I'm going to put a comment up from Fel here. Would you guys buy a new camera if Nikon announces one now or next year, or are you happy?
I'm happy. I like my Z8 and Z9.
I might get the Z52 or if it's coming out.
And Z90.
I'm happy with what I
Whatever
have.
they call it.
I'm happy with what I
It better
have.
be like the A6700 or the R7. Make it worth my while.
But I'm good with where I'm at. If anything, waiting to see when they really do complete the last maybe 6 or 7 lenses in their lineup where they can say they're pretty much done.
That'll never happen.
See what they
They're
come
gone
out.
forever.
I wish, I know, they said, a while back, well, we're not going to have a lens roadmap. And I think I made a comment on Gray's one day, and I said, at first I kind of agreed with that, but now I'm not so sure because, they know where, let's say, where there's gaps where they had a specific lens in F mount where they never came out with a Z mount equivalent, whether it be ultra wide angle lenses or, tilt shift lenses and maybe a couple of, wide angle zooms, so on and so forth. There's a handful of lenses anyway. And I wish they would come out with a roadmap for those remaining lenses, only because, they may be enjoying, we'll surprise everybody with what we come out and when we come out with it type of mindset. But at the same time, if you're like looking for a particular lens, like David, if instead of having to buy a 10 millimeter Laowa lens, maybe I'm just saying maybe you may have wanted to had the opportunity to maybe buy a 10 millimeter Nikon lens. But when you don't know when or if they're gonna come out with that stuff, then all they're doing is in some ways hurting themselves, because people will, just like before, they're only going to wait. At least before, they'd say, well, you're saying you're going to do this lens, and okay, I'll wait a while longer. But if they don't have a roadmap, eventually you're going to say, I'm just going to buy third party. One, I'm going to get it for, even if it's a Voigtlander lens or whatever, I'm going to get a lens for, $900 or less. If it's one of those Chinese lenses, it's probably going to be $500. $300 to $600 range for lenses, and you'll just say, I'm just going to go with one of those because I'm tired of waiting. It's like they should come to me. It would be advantageous, as long as they're not saying, oh yeah, we're going to do these 8 lenses in the next 10 years, because then everybody's going to say, I'm going to get the third party anyway. I'm not, who knows when in that 10-year period you're going to come out with what I want. But I don't know, just my feeling. I originally agreed with their logic, but now I'm not so sure, because there might be 1 or 2 lenses that I'd like to buy down the road, and I'd like it to be Nikon, but at some point I may just say, forget it. I'll just buy third party and be done with it.
Voigtlander are pretty good.
Yeah.
Like for me, it's even worse, because there's some of these focal lengths I need now, and Nikon can come out with their in 2 weeks' time, but it's too late, because it's the peak of the Aurora cycle right now. And if I'm going on a trip and I have a hole in my lens selection, I'm going to fill it if I can. It'd be nice if it was Nikon, but they don't make anything shorter than 20 millimeters right now.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. I mean, they should have a 10. They should have a 14. They should have an 18.
Tilt shift.
I mean, to me, instead of having 4 versions of a 35 millimeter lens, squeeze in a 14 or a 10 before you come out with the fourth 35 millimeter lens, or whatever. But it just I don't know, kind of gets a little frustrating. I mean, it's nothing that I urgently have to have right now, but at the same time, I can see where some people would definitely, like David says, you're shooting a certain genre, you have a certain situation where certain times of the year are when you get the best results, and you're only going to wait so long, and then you're going to pull the trigger on something. You're not going to wait anymore.
Well, in Aurora, it's on an 11-year cycle. They can come up with it next year and maybe too late, but they don't even have a good 28. So the long glass is great. The short glass is missing.
Yeah. And then obviously, not that we're going to hear a lot of people oohing and on, but obviously they have a big disconnect with with any APS-C, any DX lenses. They're very, very bad situation with those if they ever plan on getting into that arena, which, like I said, I think they should, because Canon, like I reported, Canon plans on putting out a few APS-C lenses in the next year, and Fuji, of course, that's all they're doing other than their medium format stuff. And so it's like other manufacturers are, I mean, unless you're giving up on that market space, I mean, I think it was, trying to think who it was that used to come on the show when Chuck did it. Doesn't do a lot of content anymore. Oh God, I'm trying to think of his name. He was always complaining that Nikon didn't have any cameras that were good for someone just learning photography. And you know what? I kind of that are inexpensive, and I kind of agree with that, because my grandson, who's probably 13, I think 13 years old, is taking a photography course, an elective photography course in school. And so I thought, gee, I'd like to maybe get him a camera or something, talk to him first, make sure he likes it, make sure he has an interest in it. And if he did, maybe try to find him a camera. And it's like, well, if you're, there really is nothing in the Nikon, and my condition was, it had to have an EVF, not one of those, not a camera that's for vlogging or that type of thing that has, where you're doing everything from the rear screen. I wanted it to be something that was reasonably modern, didn't have to be like something that just came out in the last year per se, but something that was relatively modern, that was, something that I could find used, for like, let's say $300 or something, with just a basic 50 millimeter lens or something like that. And really there is nothing in the Nikon arena even used that you can get anywhere near that price point. And you could buy a Canon R100 used and get it in that price point, or I'm trying to think, it was a Panasonic Lumix camera. I can't remember the model now, but there weren't a lot of options. But yeah, when you have someone that's just learning and they're going through a photography class, and they might want to get started with something, and you really don't know if they're going to. They may say, "Oh yeah, I want one," but you're not going to go out and spend $1,500 for a camera for a maybe situation. You want to find something where they can get a decent shot with a camera, get some decent results, but that you can afford on a relatively reasonable budget. And you just can't. There's only a couple choices out there. I mean, if you want to get into real old stuff and buy Nikon 1 cameras that are out there, you can get a Nikon 1 camera with a lens for $300. But to me, that's a collector camera, more in my mindset, and not something that I would want to give for somebody that's starting out. Want them to have something a little more modern, something that has some video features if they want to do some, at least that would at least do 4K 30, something like that. So it was difficult. So I mean, I really think in some ways Nikon's missing the boat with. I mean, and of course they said we want to make our money doing high end cameras, but a beginner isn't going to jump and go out and spend $3,500 or with a camera body and a lens. Especially someone who's younger, and that's when you want to get them interested. And you want to get these kids interested when they're taking those photography classes in school, whether it be the last year of middle school or when they get into high school. Because if you get them into a product, even if it's a cheap product, you may have a customer for life, because that they got used to the controls and the menu, and then they get better, and then they want to get the next camera up and the next body up and the next better piece of glass, and they're kind of missing out. Jeff and Leslie are taking off. Good. Thanks for stopping in, guys. Appreciate it. Appreciate it very much. I'm going to bring up that article from Photography Life. And I'm not going to read through the whole thing because it's very, has a lot of information, and I'm not going to do that. I just want you to be aware of it, so that if you want to want to learn more about the Z6 III, if you were thinking about it, that you can get some ideas here. Okay, so I gotta find the original file so that I can scroll. This is where I should have my laptop.
So this is AI free since 2008. What
AI
happened before that?
Well, they wanted to put that on their website because people were getting irritated with a lot of stuff that was in content on some of the other websites had a lot of AI in it, and so they decided that let's just put in that we have not been using any AI since 2008.
And that's probably referring not to the photos, but to the articles.
Correct. So they have a introduction to the initial review for the Z6 III, and you can go through this, and they got pictures in here, specifications, and they do a comparison of the Z6 II. You have a table of the Z6 II versus the Z6 III, and they break down, they got camera features, and then they got the two models here, and then anything that's highlighted in green is a feature that you have in one camera that you do not have in the other. And so like the first thing in green is the Z6 II had dual Expeed 6s, and the Z6 III has Expeed 7. You go farther down, your maximum native ISO is higher on the Z6 III. You have sensor shift on the Z6 III. You have the pre-shoot. Obviously, as we all kind of complain, those of us that are nature photographers and birders complain that it's still only JPEG only. Shutter speed goes up to 1/16,000th of a second. Higher frame rate, 20 frames per second. And you can just visually and quickly compare features to features between a Z6 II and a Z6 III. Because there are a lot of people that say, I love my Z6 II, and why would I want to get one? So here at a glance, you may see something that's highlighted that you go, gee, that kind of matters to me. That would be really good to have, and maybe I should think about getting it. So then they get into comparing the Z6 III to the ZF, and same thing. They got a table in here, but there's not as many differences between the ZF and the Z6 III. There are some that may matter to some people. 12-bit, they have 12-bit video versus 10-bit, but 10-bit's pretty darn good too. The big difference is the type of the number of slots in the camera. The ZF having the SD card and the micro SD card versus a CFE Type B and an SD card in a Z6 III. So for some, they may lean to the Z6 III just because they want those memory cards, but there are actually a few things that are better on the ZF than the Z6 III. Not a lot, just a couple things, but they talk about all of that. They show some pictures, and basically they break it down, introduction and specs, design and handling, focusing capabilities, other features, image quality, recommendations, and reader comments. And I'll go to, let me go to just recommendations. And here's where they say their opinion. The Z6 III finally feels like an adult camera. It took 6 years and 3 generations to get there. They like the handling and design. Most importantly, the button customization options. And they said in this respect, in terms of button customization options, the Z6 III is on par with the Z8 and the Z9. And they say as a result, the Z6 III finally makes sense as a second body for a pro. Obviously, it depends on what you want for megapixels too. Most of the buttons are in the familiar places and can be programmed without any restrictions. And of course, it's got good continuous shooting speed, excellent stabilization, linked to the focus point. Okay, which you could be a focus point that's right on the edge of your frame, and your stabilization is tied into where that focus point is. Better viewfinder, fully articulated display, good image quality at high ISOs, and so on and so forth. And so I happen to like Photography Life. I've had a few times where I didn't agree with some of their commentary. Spencer Cox is one of the guys that writes a lot of articles for him. This one is somebody else. But I know I disagreed one time with with how Spencer had worded something, and I wrote in there, which I normally don't do, and then he ended up retracting it because he agreed with what I said. So once in a while I do comment on one of these articles, but for the most part, I think they do the crew that's tied in with that Photography Life is top notch, and they do very good reviews, and they do lens reviews as well. So if you've never checked them out, I recommend that you give them a look. I do enjoy what they put out there, and I think many of you would as well. Just another option. So we'll get back to our regularly scheduled programming. But check it out. They've been around for a while, and they're not usually ones that come out like necessarily first out of the gate with reviews. So everybody wants to be first, but usually by the time they do a normal review rather than a initial impressions type of thing, they're pretty thorough about everything that they've looked at with the camera, and it gives you a good feel for what these cameras and lenses can do. And Robert Daniels is now here. Hello, Robert. And David, you're taking off?
Yeah, I'll hang around to the bottom of the hour.
Okay.
And
that should be it for us too.
Yeah, we're getting close. We're getting close. Let's see what else we got here. I got the rumors from the other brands. Let's see. We talked about flash technology earlier. So if you go to Sony Alpha Rumors, they talk about, they have an article where they're interviewing the founder of Peak Design. Many of us have Peak Design, bags or gadgets that we use for our cameras. Their tripods, their travel tripods, and whatnot. So their founder's named Peter Daring, and so they have an interview with him, and they have another video talking about their recent Kickstarter program offerings. They came out with another series of bags recently, and they're on the Kickstarter program, and they've already gotten over $2 million of funding. So that stuff will come to fruition. With $2 million, yes, they will be making that product. And if you participate in that program, I think I might have mentioned it last week. I don't remember whether you save 20% or if it's a little bit more than that, but off of MSRP. But if it's something that you had an interest in any way, check it out on Kickstarter, and you save yourself a few bucks. They also have an interview with the CEO of Sigma that you can watch. And they talk about the Viltrox f4.5 pancake lens that's going to be announced tomorrow. through Indiegogo, which is kind of like a Kickstarter type of program. Same idea, different group. And then they have a video for those of you that have invested or have contemplated whether or not you want to buy the A9 III. They have a video titled, titled Sony Alpha 9 III Real World Test for Birds, Surfers, and Foxes. So they have a video, another video. They got quite a few videos that you might find interesting. And they have they have a massive price drop, and their lowest price ever for the Sony A7C. Body only is $1,298. And then they had a short update on the A7R5 firmware update failure problem. And I would just refer you to their website to read about that. So if you have a problem with your A7R5 when you downloaded their latest version of firmware, you can go and read that article. And obviously the Tamron lens that we talked about for the Z mount, the 90 millimeter Tamron lens, is also coming out in the Sony mount as well. So Sony users will be able to purchase that lens. David, thanks a lot. He just took off. So appreciate David coming on. And Fuji Rumors was interesting. They stated that Fuji is coming out with a new camera that is not a successor to an X or a GFX camera. It's going to have an entirely new sensor. And they just said the old ... details to follow. So it'll be interesting.
That's
Interesting to see what the mystery new Fuji camera with a new type of sensor is going to be.
I hope they have better autofocus.
Well, that got mucked up, and I think I got maybe something in here about that too. That got mucked up from a firmware update.
Yeah.
Screwed them up on that too. Yeah, there is something to be said for when the firmware comes out. I'm not saying you got to wait 6 months, but you might want to wait a week or two before you throw it on your camera to see if somebody else has a problem before you have a problem.
Fun out of it.
Adventure, yeah. Yeah, here it is right here in my notes. A Fujifilm X shooter, they're saying, reached out to Fujifilm and asked them if they do plan to release a firmware fix for the autofocus issues that came up after the latest firmware updates. So this is the reply that he got. He says, as best they could, looking at the guy's screenshots that he sent, Fuji Rumors. And the commentary was, thank you for your message and for taking the time to give us your feedback. We take all comments about our products very seriously. We are aware of several videos and posts on social media regarding autofocus performance. Our R&D team in Japan is investigating a solution, and we hope to have an update on this very soon. And then the person who wrote the article says, here on Fuji Rumors, we did complain about the autofocus issues, and we also highlighted a quick solution. Fujifilm should just offer a downgrade to the initial firmware, which was really working well. So they're recommending allow people to be able to get the latest firmware upgrade off their cameras and put the previous version on, and because the camera worked really good with the previous version. And that's actually a good suggestion. Whether or not they'll do that or not, who knows. There's a Oh, Terry's saying maybe this is it, the new Fuji camera. Terry's through. I'm noticing in the comments section here. Terry says they have a GSX 100 S2. Well, no, that's not it, because they said that the new camera is not a it's not a GFX series, and you called out a GSX. Okay, so maybe that could be it. I don't know. But that's interesting to note. They have a pretty nice rendering on a Fujinon XF 500 millimeter f5.6 RLM-OIS WR lens on Fuji Rumor's website. They're saying the lens announcement is scheduled to happen this year. They didn't say when, but this year is coming quickly to an end here for us. Time flies when you're having fun. Canon rumors. They're saying Canon EOS R6 Mark III prototypes are in the field. Canon EOS R5 Mark II is in stock at Canon USA. And I'm going to talk about Canon flashes a bit here, and I gotta change the order in which I typed this in. They came out. So Canon Rumors came out with an article dated September 19th, where they say Canon recalls the Speedlight EL-5 because they can't make flashes. It says Canon seems to have lost the ability to make speedlights. The Speedlight EL-1 was recently discontinued and had been a train wreck of availability for a long time. Now the Canon Speedlight EL-5 has been recalled. So the statement from Canon Japan: thank you for your continued patronage of Canon products. We have discovered that the following phenomenon occurs with the Speedlight EL-5 flash. We would like to inform you of the details of this issue and our response. We sincerely apologize to customers who use this product for any inconvenience caused. Some parts of this product may consume battery power quickly when the power is turned off. If a fully charged battery is inserted and the power is turned off, the battery may run out in about 2 days. Check your serial number. The affected products are the Speedlight EL-5 flash units with a 0 as the fourth digit from the left of their serial numbers that are experiencing the above-mentioned issue. So there, like Canon Rumors is kind of like throwing shade that they don't know how to make speedlights anymore, and then they came out with an article dated September 24th, and they're just reporting the news, right? So, but it was just kind of funny. They came out with an article dated September 24th saying that they've been told that Canon may soon announce a hybrid speedlight that can also be a flagship, but that's not confirmed. They're saying a hybrid flash means there will also be a video light on the speedlight. However, Canon Rumors has been told it's more than a gimmick and will actually be useful.
Modeling light.
There will also be some other new speedlight features which have not yet been revealed. And it says a lot of people want a Canon speedlight on the cameras, not necessarily wanting to use Pro Photo. So that was the commentary. So you got one commentary talking about that they don't know how to make speedlights, and then you got another commentary announcing another hybrid type of speedlight that is for stills and video that may be coming out at some point in time. So that's interesting. On the Canon rumor site as well, they're saying Signa's announcing a 28-105 f2.8 art lens. I'm sure that'll be for more brands than just Canon. It'll probably be for everybody, or at least Sony and Canon anyway. Let's see what else we got. They have an update, I guess, on a previous article maybe that they did in weeks past. They said Canon has started to install firmware version 1.01 on serviced Canon EOS R5 Mark II camera bodies. This update looks like it addresses an issue with the screen going green when shooting video. It says there are still other bugs with the EOS R5 Mark II that will need to be worked out in short order. And as mentioned yesterday, from when they wrote this article, we expect that to be available before the end of September. Well, we're pretty much almost at the end of September. And then they said they rarely get tipped off about future firmware updates, but it does happen from time to time. They said it should come as no surprise, but the Canon EOS R5 Mark II will be getting one in the very near future. And as I previously just said, they started to install version 1.01 on serviced camera body. So I don't know if that's what they're referring to. They said they know that the new firmware is currently being tested. Maybe it's a different one. They go, the new firmware is being tested by numerous friends of Canon. New firmware is scheduled to appear before the September 26th, which was a few days ago, ship date of the RF 28 to 70 millimeter f2.8 IS STM lens. As always, with firmware, discovered bugs in testing may delay the release, which isn't a bad thing. It says Canon had a lot of firmware that needed to be pulled for both the EOS R6 and EOS R5 because bugs were found. A few of them were pretty significant. They say they were not privy to the firmware release notes. However, it's obvious that they'll be cleaning up a lot of the bugs that people have experienced. However, we were told that there will be a worthwhile feature update or two. Hopefully, any feature updates are more than just video additions. Us photographers always feel somewhat left out of the new feature fun. So yeah, a lot of people feel that way. It's like, everything is being a lot of things are being so video centric now, and hey, we just want to have pre-capture and raw, man. Give us that. Throw us a bone. Give us the pre-capture and raw. I don't understand why that seems to be such a difficult thing for them to do. And
I hope they are not keeping it for the next generation of camera. But
that might be the Z9 Mark II is going to have pre-capture and raw, to dangle the carrot in front of you and make you.
Then they'll release it for the Z9 6 months later.
Yeah, they'll put it in the Z9 too, and and then like you said, get everybody to spend the money, and then they'll go and they'll update it on the Z9, and then the people that bought the 2 will be like, you pieces of blankety blank, yeah.
So talking about the flash technology, Roy and Jeff and Randall, the thing with the new flashes, correct, is that if indeed the whole industry move into global shutters, right, those new flashes will have to work with global shutter, and that will be different from the current generation.
New game entirely.
Exactly. So I think for that reason, I think if we were worthwhile waiting to see whether indeed there is a wave of new cameras with global shutters, because then the new flash will come along.
Yeah, the thing is, I just wish. Well, when the A9 III came out, and correct me if I'm wrong, people were making commentary that there were only a few flashes that could really work.
The Sony one, their own Sony one,
it didn't work that well either.
Yeah, there was one. I mean, they were talking like it was like a 5-figure. It was a stupidly priced flash, like something that you and I would never ever spend that much money.
And not only that, yeah, but even with some restrictions, correct? because remember it used to be that they could do an insane flat sync, like a 1/80,000 or something like that. But it was one model that could work on that synchronization.
Like a $17,000 flash.
No, it was. I think it was one of their Sony owned flashes that were the same range of the SB800. So, but it had to be that flash, correct? So people needed more power or something, didn't have the option. It was one flashlight that was working on it. But, so I think they will need to. I think the Godox and the Westcott and the Pro Photo, they probably are working on those type of flashes that.
They'll just need to update the trigger. The flashes will probably still work just the same.
Exactly.
It's only the speed lights that are going to be a problem.
Yes.
Yeah. But but yeah, we'll see what comes down the road. I just don't. We talk about it now and then, and I know some people probably wish that we just talked about what do we think Nikon should come out with next or whatever. But the bottom line is, as fun as it is to occasionally talk about features that we may want to see in upcoming cameras, you talk about that once or twice, and there's no sense in continuing to have that conversation every week. And we don't really have a feel for what they're going to come out with. They're just surprising us now, so we don't know if we're going to. People that have feel like they've been waiting a lifetime for a pro level APS-C camera. Don't know if that's ever going to come out. People are probably wondering, is there going to be if you're coming out with new versions of if you're coming out with new flagships on the Canon side, people may be saying, well, the Z9 it isn't like it's real old, but could they be coming out with a version 2 of that? And then of course you get into the thought process of whether or not you'll see any hardware technology flow down. When will you see some hardware technology flow down from Red products into Nikon cameras? Not LUTs, actual hardware or even sensor, using some of their maybe some of their sensors, developing a new sensor based on the Red's color science, and Red has global shutters, and will they work with Red to develop a next level global shutter for a Z9 Mark II, or so you wonder. I mean, these are all things that are interesting things to talk about, but yeah, it seems like some stuff is kind of quiet now, other than the constant, like I said, release of Chinese lenses.
Well, but remember what we know based on their track record. There should be still some announcement for new Nikon lenses, right? Because we only have like 3, and they typically release about 7. That being a pretty good average.
Well, the 35 1.2 is still. Nikon rumors insist that is on the list of what should be coming out. So okay, but like I said, here you go. You're going to have a 35 millimeter. You got you're going to have a 1.2 and a 1.4 and a 1.8, and then I think there's one that's might even be a higher f-stop than that, 2.8 or something. I don't know, but there's they got more than enough 35 millimeter, and I mean, choice is good, but like I'm saying, if you had 2 choices of that lens, throw out a 14 millimeter lens, and then throw out the next 35, or throw out a 10 millimeter lens and then throw out the next 35. Yeah. You don't need to do 35, 35, 35, 35.
Yeah. Talking about Red, what it's a interesting thing. Unfortunately, this is only applicable for us here in the U.S., but I think it's a BBC production. In PBS on Wednesday, they are broadcasting a new 3-part series called Big Cat 24/7. I don't know if you have watched it, Jeff, but they are basically following some lions and cheetahs and leopards in I think it's in the Okavango. Correct. Now, the reason why I bought this topic here is because they're about uh, it's not your typical documentary. It's basically a little bit of behind the scenes. The narrators are the photographers, correct? And interesting enough, in this case, the videographers, all the cameras that they were using on those big production Africa documentary are Reds. And it would be interesting if you guys have access to that. Watch the lenses that they use, because they use these big telephoto lenses, Roy, for the Red that they are like 50 millimeter to 300, 50 millimeter to 600. I mean, those are,
$30,000-$40,000 lenses.
$50,000, $100,000, and each of them have one of those mounted in the Red. But for us that are in this kind of hobby, it will be interesting to see how they gear up those Red cameras, okay, with those big lenses, and how they attach it to the actually Land Rovers. So basically, each of the photographer has his own Land Rover, and they have on the side already a setup that they just bring, in this case, some sort of camera with the plate, and they put the plate on so they are filming from the Land Rovers. So
Yeah.
if you guys
So the answer is like hitting the bumps.
no, because they are stopped. They go to where the action is happening. They stop, correct?
Stop, yeah.
And then they are filming there. But so for us as a photographer, or amateur videographer, watch that, because you can see where the professionals are using, how they use the Red cameras, and put yourself trying to do that. Correct. So it's it broadcast here in the US on Wednesday night, Jeff. As you know, all the nice documentaries on PBS are in on Wednesday night. So, but I think it's a BBC production. A lot of the is what is done in conjunction PBS with BBC. So I recommend it. It's good entertainment for those that like nature, but also it shows you how they use the Nikon cameras in a very hostile environment. Correct? Imagine you're carrying your camera day after day after day on these trips, correct? into the savannah there on the Okavango Delta.
Can you imagine the size of this lens that Sanjit's talking about, a 50 to 1,000?
Oh, yeah. But I mean, I can watch. You watch. I mean, these are Jeff this big. Right?
I can't. My hands can't go out far enough on the screen here.
I mean, they only go like 50 to 300, but they are a lot bigger than the 800 PF. Correct. So and how they rig up the cameras, how they put all the stuff around, and they have some also some night cameras. So it's interesting I just pass that along. We may learn something about it, right? But it's certainly interesting that these are how these professional photographers are using Red cameras for their videography.
I'm gonna throw up a reminder here about the photo review, since we're getting near the end of our show. We don't have a lot of photos, people. If you want to have a decent show, we got to have a decent amount of photos. And I'm not saying everybody send me 20, but there's a lot of people, even from last month's, that people that had been sending in images didn't send in any at all. So I'm pleading with you guys to I don't care if it's an image from 20 years ago. It doesn't matter. We don't have a prerequisite that the image has to be something you took in the last week. it's just sharing your work, whether it's old work or new work, it doesn't matter. We enjoy seeing the photos, because we're only at 21 images right now. And then for those of you that maybe weren't here at the beginning of the show, we said what we're going to try to do is where all these photos that we get are going to get renamed with a 3-digit number starting at 001 through what have you. And what that's going to do is, for those of you that are interested in participating, we want you to select your top 3, your favorite 3 photos from the photo review, comment in the comment section for the live stream on my YouTube channel and say, here are my 3 picks, and the only one that I need you to flag is which one is your favorite, because what we're going to do is and hopefully we get a lot of participation in terms of people picking the ones they like the most. And no one that is a regular on the panel, and there's like 7 or 8 of us that I consider regulars on the panel, we can vote on photos as well as you, but we cannot vote and pick our own. So we can vote on everybody's photos except for our own. You can vote on ours if you want to, but we are not going to vote on our own images. And then we'll wait a week. We'll go for a week till the 12th of October, where we will close the voting, and then I will tabulate the results, and I will share that information, and the whatever photo is considered the top photo will appear on a monthly calendar, which will be a JPEG, and if I can. The software I'm using will only let me save it as a JPEG or a what did I say?
HIFile, HIF,
No,
PNG.
PNG, yeah, or a JPEG, and I can always save it as a JPEG and then try to save it as a PDF and offer 2 versions or something, depending on what people want to do with the file. But the thought process was, since it was going to be very, very hard for us to produce, get enough images, and it just gets complicated in terms of shipping and addresses, and I don't want to become a warehouse for photo calendars for a year or anything. That was not going to work out or be cost effective or easy to do. So we said, well, Sanjit had a suggestion, which was very good and went over well. Let's just create a monthly calendar. So that's what we're going to try to do. We'll take the number 1 voted shot, and we'll put that on one of 2 formats, depending on which looks better. And we will create a monthly calendar and save the file. And anybody who wants it can email me, and I will send you the file. And you can print it out or do whatever you want with it. The top 3 images will appear on the thumbnail for the following photo review. And as I shared earlier, we do have a photo review template that is a yellow background. So in the future, as time goes on, it'll be easy for you to identify what shows were the photo review, because instead of being the normal black background, it will have a yellow background. It'll stand out. And if you're just saying, I only care about the photo reviews, I don't care about everything else, you can find them quicker. I'm not going to go back and remanufacture thumbnails for all the prior photo reviews, but starting with next week, it will be the new template.
I remind you that Jeff had been putting timelines for the videos. So you want to go to a specific portion of our regular get together, you can use that. And by the way, I'm sharing that PBS documentary so that you guys can see the actual name of the.
Okay.
So this is the documentary. Okay?
Wow.
So you can see the type of vehicles they are using there, correct? So.
Oh yeah.
So let me see if I can. Well, without infringing any copyright, but we are making promos here for them. All right.
Yeah, they're getting free advertising. They shouldn't complain about that.
Exactly. So let me see if I can.
Yeah, usually just do PBS live or PBS on YouTube.
Exactly. You can go to. Oh no, that's not. But anyway, it called. I for whatever reason I cannot get to my Safari. Hold on a second here. Yeah. So I'm sorry, guys. I cannot show you the title, but anyway, so go to PBS, look for Big Cat 24/7, and then you can really see that the documentary. It's very good, very entertaining, and he has a lot of kind of for us to look behind the scenes. Here it is.
Big Cats. Yeah.
Big Cats.
PBS Live, Big Cats.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. So anyway, that I think it's a great documentary, and I think there's still one episode to go.
Okay. We appreciate the your tarantula images tonight too. There we go. Some of us may not be able to sleep well tonight. I don't know.
That was nothing.
Well, I'll tell you guys will get a kick out of this. And you'll say, "Oh, I'm such a horrible father." My youngest son had such a fear of spiders, and I'm a practical jokester. I always have been. I take no prisoners, and I'm a horror movie buff and sci-fi, and I like all sorts of movies. So, and I have no problem trying to scare the what out of somebody. So, my kid was sleeping. I bought a giant radio-controlled tarantula. I mean, big.
Yeah.
And my kid was sleeping on his back, and I put it on his chest. And
and now you wonder why he doesn't like spiders.
It wasn't like 5 minutes later. It was like I put it on his chest, and I left his room, and I'm downstairs, and all of a sudden I hear you hear the loudest scream you ever heard.
And that's how trauma gets made.
Yeah, and so it's like
You didn't videotape it.
No, that was before I had. That was years ago. That was before I had a video camera. So, but that was worth every dollar I spent on that stupid thing.
So did he kill it, or did he figure out it was fake?
He threw it off of him, thinking it was real, and then he realized it was fake. But it was.
And then he called you out, right?
It was priceless. It was priceless.
Look at it coming from Jim. Thank you, Jim. I'm sorry. I apologize.
So anyway, we're going to call it a night. We appreciate we thank everybody that came on the panel tonight and participated. We appreciate everybody, sharing their time with us, and we appreciate the tarantula shots. Most of us do anyway. A few of them fear factor may have kicked in, and there be some sleepless nights for a few people, maybe. We thank, and Randall, thank you for coming on the panel. Like I said, you're always welcome. I'll send you an invite. You decide whether you want to show up or not. We thank everybody in the chat for showing up as always. And like I said, the variety of what we have on this show is really heavily dependent on you folks in the chat. As Chuck said, he used to and we try to do it. I don't say we do it as good as Chuck did per se. We try to do it. notice topics of discussion in the chat, bring it forward, talk about it as a group. But sometimes, sometimes we have a quiet night. There's not a lot of sidebar conversations going on, so we try to, have a few things that we can present during the show. And it's kind of one of the reasons too why we're doing the 3-hour format now versus the 5-hour format, because if there's not a lot of news out there in the photo world for a given week, it could be very, very difficult to do a 5-hour show and keep it going. And I think that for a lot of us on the panel here, we're not 20 anymore, and a 3-hour show is still 2 hours more than most people do their live streams for. So it's not like you're getting gypped and we're just doing it for an hour. So we will continue to do 3 hours, but if we have a lot to talk about, or we have a really hot topic subject going on in the chat and we get involved in that, if we go 4 hours, we go 4 hours. We go 5 hours. 5 hours will be the limit, but we'll always do at least 3. And sometimes it'll be 4, sometimes it may be 5. But we appreciate you coming in and joining us. We enjoy it. And if we didn't enjoy it, we wouldn't do it. And that's that. So I'll let everybody say their good nights to you folks, and we'll hopefully see you for the photo review. Send in your pictures. Very important. Picture. Send them in.
Thank you, guys.
And please give a like. And if you watch it on a rewind, make sure you comment. It's very helpful.
And like I said, I don't mind good comments, bad comments, but don't just leave a bad comment and do one of these. If you don't like something, then say what you want to see. Don't just complain for the sake of complaining, because what do you want me to do? I'm not a mind reader. My wife thinks I am, but I have limited range. My telepathic powers are very, I can only go 20 feet. That's it. I can't do anybody, that's farther away than 20 feet. So good night, everybody. Have a good one, and go out and get some great photos and be safe. If you're trying to get photos of the remnants or the situation with the hurricane and flooding and stuff like that, don't get overly cocky, because you could get hurt. Just because the storm passed through a certain area, there's still a lot of areas that are completely underwater. There's still stuff floating around that could hit you, or something that you could step on and hurt yourself. So take pictures from a distance if you're going to do that kind of stuff, and be safe. And hopefully you made it through the situation and didn't have any property damage, or anyone in your family or friends that got hurt. And we wish you all the best. So take care, and we'll see you next week.
Watch out for the snakes. There'll be
and the tarantulas. If you get the flooding, you might have a lot of tarantulas floating your way. So be careful.